Hello and welcome to the Only Fools Love Horses preview for the Cheltenham Festival. It's time. We've been building up for a couple of weeks now. We had the Anti-Post series. We had plenty of guests on throughout, and we're now just a couple of days away from the big Supreme Roar. As you can see, I've decorated the background the best I can. I've chucked up a scarf on the door of my university studio. It's sure to be a really good event. We've got some fantastic panel on, but we're, of course, joined by the usual lot. To start things, Harry and Lee. Lee, this has been something that we've been waiting for a while. We can finally get into it. Cheltenham Festival's around the corner. What more can you ask for?
Well, there's plenty of previews being floated about. I think we've got the most best-looking panel I've ever seen, mixed with the best knowledge, and we'll have a bit crack along the way as well. We've got plenty of star boosts from Star Sports. Flynn's going to be going through them, and we'll have a good night. We've got a competition running as well from Racing Tees. I've got this bad lad from Constitution Hill from Racing Tees, at Racing Tees 1 on Twitter, and there's a big bundle to give away at the end as well. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to it. Fingers crossed everything goes well. And Harry, I want you to be nice and restrained tonight. I want you sort of out the back, jockey's taking a pull, and then you go for it. How are you, mate?
Oh, not bad, mate. Not bad. I'm absolutely buzzing for this. But you've done well. You've built yourself a nice fine for vandalising the university campus. But we'll move on from that with that scarf in the background. Listen, I can't wait. As Lee has mentioned, it's one hell of a panel we've got on. I absolutely can't wait. What more can you ask for? You say, well, 28 winners would be nice. Me being a millionaire by the end of it, that would be extremely helpful. Whether that's going to happen, I'm not too sure, but I'm sure we'll find a few winners along the way tonight. So how are you anyway?
I'm not too bad. Fingers crossed we can all go well on this. We've assembled a fantastic panel. We've assembled this lesser known person, really. I've never really seen him on my screens before, and I'm sure he hasn't really done a preview night yet. So it's a guy called Johnny Dineen here. So Johnny, how are you? First of all, you are a busy man. How are you tonight?
Good, very good, very good. Delighted to be with you anyway, guys. Yeah. It's not too bad doing a Zoom or whatever you call it from home anyway, really. So it's I don't have to go outside the door. I don't even have to put on deodorant.
Yeah, and Johnny, we had a bit of crack last time, didn't we? I mean, I don't know whether you can remember the amount of previews you've done in between then. There's been a lot of water under the bridge by then. But listen, we had you on last time. It was a great crack. So all we ask for is you bring yourself. You find a few winners for those hopeful. I'm sure whatever you say, there are going to be a few that follow you in. So, and I'm sure there's a few boosts that you will take your liking as well tonight. So, Johnny,
maybe so, yeah.
Come back.
Thank you, Johnny. We'll come back to you in a second. Emma Nagel there. How are you tonight, Emma?
Good, lads. Thanks for having me on. Getting excited now. Only a few days to go. So, looking forward to it.
How's the big build-up? Obviously, you do bits and pieces for irishracing.com. How's the build-up from your end? Have you been excited, been busy behind the scenes?
Yeah, I've been really busy now. I was kind of racing all weekend. I was in Navan and Leopardstown kind of doing some build-up videos, and I was at Joseph O'Brien's on Friday doing a stable tour. So, yeah, it's great. Everyone's kind of getting excited now. I was talking to a few jockeys and trainers as well at the weekend, and everyone just seems to be buzzing now. I suppose it's all that's on anyone's mind for the last week or two now. So it's great.
It's sure to be really good. Hopefully you got some nice nuggets of information. Paul Callahan from the Irish Field. Paul, how are you on this fine evening ahead of the Cheltenham Festival?
Flying. I am absolutely mighty. Came down the road there from Dublin. Conditions was a bit dirty now. Plenty of snow the further north you go. So I think Thurles was called off earlier on today, and it must have been pretty bad down there for that to be called off. But really looking forward to Cheltenham. Everyone's dream, everyone's bubble, everyone's dream, like I said, is still alive. So should be a bit of crack. Should be interesting for viewers now to try and understand. We got two from Cork and Geordie as well, so that should make for interesting viewing.
We'll try and get subtitles on in the edit. No, it's brilliant to have you. Brilliant to have you, Paul. And we of course got as well from the Twitter campaign of things. We've got Pete at Risk Rewards. Pete, you're a fairly regular one with us, probably the most regular one. And it's great to have you on for this big event.
Yeah, evening, lads. I feel like a stalwart random now. This time last year, I remember us all coming on and chatting about Allaho. I think it was only us four. So you've grown a lot in the last year.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I'm absolutely buzzing now, so I can't wait. Just get it on.
Pete, it seems a recurring thing for you that every single year you have these anti-post bets, that are lying on, and for some reason they're absolutely incredible. Last year was Allo, wasn't it? I remember, was it Sky Pirate? I remember actually Scott follow you in on the Sky Pirate, one of them. I think it was 2 years ago now. And this year, I think Galopin Chance, we'll get onto that fella. I think he's certainly one that you're going to be hiding behind the couch watching.
Yeah, no, I don't like to talk about him until afterwards. I'm more than happy to gloat afterwards, but the lead up, yeah, I've got some really good ones once more, and I don't know why, or it's just that tunnel vision I have, and probably the fact that I sleep and dream racing nowadays.
Same.
So no, I can't wait. Yeah,
that's why we'll have you on this, Pete, just to bring them nuggets of information.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've been good.
I'm not sharing them, mate.
Everyone's watching.
We'll bring everyone in then. Flynn from Star Sports will be with us in a second. He's just grabbing something from his office. We'll get cracking. Flynn will run through the prices when he's back, but I'll take over duties while we're here. So we've got the Grade 1 Supreme Novices here to start things off, everyone. The race that everyone's looking forward to, I'm sure people have very strong opinions on. Facile Vega 2-1. Topping the market. Marine Nationale in there at 4s. You've got Impere Pastil there, 11-2. Elate Tomp, 6s. Gaelic Warrior, 2 horses there who could be going to the Ballymore, 8s. And Timurus, the British Challenge at 11-1. I suppose I'll go over to Johnny first of all. Johnny, plenty know your opinions on the Supreme, but how are things sort of a couple of days out? Are you still happy with your opinions on the Supreme?
Yeah, look, I am. I got to stick to my guns in here. Like, apparently, Facile Vega worked in the Curragh and worked extremely well, but I've heard that one before too. You know what I mean? So look, I just can't have a horse coming on the back of a blowout like he did, and I think it's probably not a bad race, and he has to be good enough as well to win after everything is said. And even if he's back to his best, he still mightn't win. And so you have 2 chances of getting him beat. I'm going to go with High Definition because I'm going to go with 2 horses actually. High Definition, for starters, win only because I do feel he's probably a potential win and maybe alternatively a blowout candidate. And I will go with Dr. Bravo each way, who's going to be ridden the opposite way. He'll be probably dropped in and coming late if he's able. I'll probably have a few quid on him each way. But I'm going to chance Lane the favourite. I can't have him anyway. And look, maybe he'll win, and he fellas will be saying to Arthurs he was a great price of 2-1. But I mean, I've seen these kind of horses before, and they rarely ever come back to what he looked like being in. Even his hurdle form before that, it doesn't make him out to be any kind of a certainty either, for that matter. So I think he's well worth taking on. And he was 5-1 after running the last day, and he hasn't run since, and he's 2-1, and he's got to beat the same horses. There's something wrong there anyway in my book.
It should be interesting. It's strong opinions from all there. Emma, I'll bring you in. It's a sort of strong vote there for High Definition. Are you in any agreement for that?
Yeah, no, I do like High Definition, and they're fairly confident on him and Joseph's as well. I think they think he's a massive chance. His jumping is probably the worry, but he at the same time he was probably unlucky to unship JJ last time. He kind of made a bit of a funny mistake. He probably learned from that as well. But he obviously has the class. We saw him on the flat. He's a high quality animal. So I think he's around 12-1. He'd be a good bet as well. But Facile Vega, I've been a fan of him kind of all along, but at the price a 2-1, he's very skimpy coming off the back of that one. You'd want him 4 or 5s, maybe you might take a chance on him then, but I couldn't be backing him at 2s myself. To be honest, don't have a very strong opinion on it. Might have a bit of a bet on Marine Nationale. He seems to be drifting away out, which is kind of strange given Barry Carnell's confidence in him. The vibes from Facile Vega are very strong, but I couldn't be backing him at that price. So might take a chance on Marine Nationale or High Definition, not fully sure yet, but yeah, those are 2 I like. Right.
Thank you very much, Paul. What would you make of the Supreme Novices this year?
Yeah, it's going to be ultra competitive. There's going to be, it'll be fairly temperature will be fairly hot going to the first, that's for sure. But if I was looking further down the page, Timurus is a horse I like. Back on the last day, I thought he's probably a bit more value than the distance would suggest. But it's a race that the Irish, even when Ireland weren't getting that many winners at the festival, we still had a cracking record in the Supreme. So I am with Marine Nationale. I thought it was a good winner on hurdling debut, and I thought was good in the Royal Bond the last day. I thought probably learned plenty. Got buried in amongst runners. Would have learned plenty, get knocked about a bit, but should stand to him in good stead here. So Marine Nationale, around about the 7-2 mark, I think is a bit of value here. I've been pretty impressed with the young rider as well, Michael O'Sullivan.
Yeah, no, he's really good. I spoke to him at the Dublin Racing Festival. He was fantastic. Pete, where do you lie on the Supreme? Now, I can't remember. Do you have a nice anti-post slip for this? Or I can't really remember off the top of my head.
I do, but it was more speculation. I've got Marine Nationale at 25-1. But that was it was the first horse that we all saw. He looked very good at the time, and it wasn't one of those that I thought would even last to the Supreme. I thought he'd come up and he'd meet something decent, possibly at the DRF, and that would be the end of him, to be honest. He's got here, and it is what it is. But you look at the stats, and the last Mullins has took this 5 out of the last 12 renewals. So I always go towards Mullins and Henderson. Henderson hasn't got a runner. I was a big fan of Facile Vega, but I completely just left this race as an anti-post. That was the only anti-post I had because of the fact that I didn't want to back Facile Vega at 2-1 or shorter. And I expected after the DRF, he'd probably be like 4-7. And it was just probably going to end up being a watching brief. He was shocking at the DRF. Obviously, you can make loads of excuses there. And I was just like most of everyone else here. I was happy to give him another go if he was 3, 4, 5-1. But it's 2-1 and he's getting shorter. And I could see with the rain coming, he could probably even shorten up even further. And you look at some of the stats, 11 out of the last 12 won on their last stat. And he not only didn't win, he was well and truly battered. So I think I'm going to be looking further down the field. I just haven't quite worked out which one yet. And then you look at Willie Mullins, if he runs more than one in the Supreme or Ballymore, on the last, he's ran 21 horses, but 17 of the 21, when he's ran them, it's always his first string that's done best. So I look at Elete Tomp, and that was the obvious alternative for me. But he was a juvenile, and the yard don't seem to be too bothered, and he's on the drift as well. So right now I'm just sat on my hands, and I'll just wait and see what sort of prices we get close to the time.
It'll be interesting for sure. I'll go over to us boys then. Harry, you're Mr. Facile Vega. Are you still in the camp for the Supreme? And Flynn's joined us, by the way. Flynn, how are you this evening?
A bit stressed after managing to lock myself out of my office about 1 minute before the preview started, but we got there in the end. I've had to call one of the cleaners to come out with the master kit.
But very quickly, what do you fancy for the Supreme, Flynn?
I think Facile Vega will be very hard to beat. He's been very well backed in recent days into 7-4 from 5-2. I just think with the change of tactics, I'm not sure what Marine Nationals beat. I think Elete Tomp is probably the fly in the ointment, just because it's so hard to rationale what it did the last day with the furious pace up front. But it pains me to say it, but I think the favourite will go in the first, and I think it'll be a bad start for us here at Star.
Harry, what's the opinion for the Supreme?
Well, I can't not say the horse that I have got a tattoo of. I mean, listen, I didn't go to Ante and get a tattoo of this fella for no reason, did I? Really, it was simple. I knew he'd be a machine. He is a machine. Get rid of the run last time. They've admitted it was wrong. As Johnny mentioned, I read as well that he did a really nice piece at the Curragh. I just think he's the best horse in the race. If he's back on song. Now he's a champion bumper 4 winner. He was so good that day, and that the ground was like a swamp. Now with the recent rain that we are getting, there is going to be a little bit soft in the description. We were talking off camera, and Ash, you were quite adamant that there was going to be at least soft in one of the descriptions. I just think if he bounces back, if he's settled a little bit, I don't think there's anything in this race that can beat him. Elete Tomps off an actual performance where they both run to I'd say their best performance. Facile Vega's quite easily got the better of him on his penultimate start. So for me, I think Facile Vega, as Flynn mentioned, will give the bookies a little bit of a hammering on the first race. And who knows how many favourites could go in. It could be a dark day, Flynn, on that Tuesday.
What's Vega in Johnny's screen?
Yeah, I was about to say it.
What's the dog called, Johnny?
Sid. He's our pet chat. He's. I just give him a rub now. I'll put him away there in a minute. Go ahead, there, guys. Sorry about this.
No, it's all right. He's probably the best character on here.
He knows as much as me anyway, that's for sure.
He heard Facile Vega, Johnny, and now he's perked up. Look, he's
no nuts for this guy if that wins.
Lee, you get a final say on the Supreme. What do you make of it?
I thought Elete Tomps was probably the solid one each way. Can't have Marine Nationale. There's not many Supreme winners have had that long of a layoff. I think Johnny said it a few months back. Why burst your bubble? He could have burst at the Dublin Racing Festival if we're seeing him. I'd rather see me horse and know where I'm at with a horse. So I couldn't have him, and the ground's probably going against him. It's getting softer and softer. Facile Vega, I was on a preview night the other night for Imperial Racing. Patrick Mullins was on the phone. He says Facile worked well on the Curragh, but he did say out of the whole week, they asked him for one, and they say it's Facel Vega. He's the class act. It'd be hard to desert him, even though he bombed out the last day. A two at a bigger price, maybe Rare Edition wasn't right in the Sydney Banks. He could go well. And also Chasing Fire for Ollie Murphy. I know you lads went down to the yard a few months back, and he did mention this horse. He's won well in up the Sandown Hill as well. So probably two at a bigger price, Chasing Fire and Rare Edition. But I won't desert Facel Vega, I think.
What I would say on Chasing Fire is when me and Ash did go, the yard did say, or rumour, and it was going around that he was the best horse in the yard. Like he was the Grade 1 horse if they had one. He's 20-1. This race is going to cut up. You've got the likes of Gaelic Warrior, Impere Pass. We've got there's quite a few horses in here.
They've actually placed with a horse before. Thomas Darby was third.
Well, they had the second and third.
Behind Classical Dream. So they've done it before, Ollie Murphy, and to run into a place at a big price. I think he is a big price, Chasing Fire, and he's stayed up that Sandown Hill, Constitution Hill did it. I'm not saying he's a Con Hill, but he definitely could run into a place at a big price.
Constitution Hill version 2 coming in. I've made a stance on this preview now because I always I ramble too much, so I'm just going to go straight down the narrow, and I'm going to say that I like High Definition and a strong leader. Actually, I'll chance Ollie Murphy's other runner in it. Strong leader. I think he could potentially be a little bit better than his stablemate. We'll go on to the next race then, the Grade 1 Arkle Novices Chase, and I'll go over to Flynn for the prices.
Yep, so we've actually got a boost here as well in the Arkle. So we are 6-4 John Bon. We're now 15-8 El Fabiolo. So you'll find this in the market. That's 15-8 out from 6-4. Dice Art Dynamo 4-1. Samoa is 8-1. My French pronunciation is going to be awful, by the way, just to be warning. Banbridge 9-1. Final Orders 12, and then you're 33-1 bar.
Thank you very much. What do you like for it, Flynn?
John Bon for me. I just think his jumping will be perfect. I know a lot's been said about El Fabiolo's jumping, but I think something else to touch on is probably the race at Aintree last year. Think of the hard race that John Bond had behind Constitution Hill, and then he's reappeared at Aintree, and these horses really find it hard to go and produce these really big performances at Aintree after having such a hard race at Cheltenham, and John Bond managed to do that and came out on top. I know you can say that El Fabiolo missed the second last and whatnot, but there was still plenty of chance for him to win the race. So I just think that John Bond is the best, and I just think El Fabiolo will struggle with his jumping around Cheltenham. You're always turning left. You have to be thinking about it. And I think that John Bon will just ping them and ping them and ping them. So on the pitches at Cheltenham, we have one in taps and one on the rails. We'll be trying to lay El Fabiolo and maybe keep a bit of John Bon, but we'll see how that goes.
No, it's sure to be a very interesting race. Hello to everyone in the comments, just going through them now. Just from before, we've got Chris Griffiths thinks Facile is surely short enough. What a lineup this is from Charlie Jones. Thank you very much. John Bon will jump them into submission from Anthony McCarthy. So we've got some strong opinions in the comments. I'll go over to Paul next for the Arkle. Where will your money be going if you are having a bet in it?
I'm all over El Fabiolo. I think if Star Sports, if you're enhancing him out to 15-8, I think that's a cracking price. It's a match between the two. This is one of my favourite races. One of the races I'm really looking forward to this week. I thought the John Bon race last time out was blown way too much out of proportion. I don't think at any stage of the race did Aidan Coleman look anxious or what have you. You know, he never really got stuck into John Bon to go and chase Harry Skelton. Harry caught him unawares, and that was it. And I think likewise with El Fabiolo's jumping, I think there's been a little too much made of that. If you watch his run the last time, just his jump at the penultimate fence down the back at Leopardstown, if you took Darryl Jacob off the horse, if he was jumping that loose, you wouldn't actually know he made a mistake. Darryl asked him up, he put in an extra stride, the horse actually jumped it fine, and he was as cute as a fox over it. And if Darryl wasn't on the horse, you wouldn't have known any difference. And he went in then, when the turn then at the cross fence, he absolutely winged that when they went on a stride. I think the fast pace here will suit him. And I thought he raced a little heavy-headed as well. He wasn't overly keen, but it was just like to Darryl, it was just my head carried. And I was quite surprised how much he found at the back of the last, having been just a little keen throughout. So, yeah, I'm all over El Fabiolo at 15-8.
Thank you very much. We'll go Emma next for the Arkle. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I'd echo what Paul is saying there. I'm all over El Fabiolo as well. John Bon can jump away as nicely as he wants, but he'd be in behind him, I'd say. I think you know, I do agree that his last one was probably being downgraded a bit too much. It probably showed John Bon's probably settling a bit more than he used to be. You know, he was kind of very fizzy last year. But it'll be interesting to see how Aidan Coleman rides him. You know, is he gonna sit in behind Dysart Dynamo? Like last year, they cut each other's throats and they both got started by Constitution Hill. And like you'd have to say, John Bon's form is nowhere near what we saw from El Fabiolo at Leopardstown. Like El Fabiolo beat some real Grade 1 horses that day, and you know John Bon hasn't come up against anything near that so far. So like they made it the entry last year, and it was only El Fabiolo's second one of his life. He made a mistake at the last. He probably would have beaten him if he didn't. So yeah, I think John Bon has an awful lot in his plate here. I think El Fabiolo will be very hard to beat. He'll probably be one of my bets of the week. Yeah.
Very strong opinions for El Fabiolo. I'm going to bring in someone who is a John Bon fan, though, is Harry. I know you are. So go on, make the case then for John Bon.
Oh, he is the banker of the week. He is. Listen, I understand that the Irish guys have came on and they're all over their Irish homes. Like, that's absolutely fine. But, I mean, they were exactly the same at Aintree. And what happened there? Listen, El Fabiolo had every single chance to go past John Bon. He looked like he headed him, and he just got out battled. John Bon was half fit after getting pounded by Constitution Hill in the Supreme, and people very rarely mention that. It's
half fit at the end of the season.
Listen. John Bon, his jumping is so good. I can't have El Fabiolo's jumping under pressure. If you compare the two, who would you rather ride at a fence going foot absolutely all guns blazing? You'd rather have John Bon come up for you. Look, his full brother was exactly the same. His pedigree suggests that he was always going to be a better chaser than he was hurdler. I know that old cliche, whatever he does over hurdles is a bonus, but he was a Grade 1 winner over hurdles. He's a proper horse. As I agree with what the guy said, he didn't have a race last time. People saying the Warwick run was bad. It wasn't run. He got fright, went past Calico in a half speed, and that horse has came out and won since. I'm not saying that form is brilliant. It's not. But listen, what else do you want him to do? He's not had a race, really, in all of his starts. He bolted up at Sandown. He, for me, is the class act in this field. And you mentioned about the pace. Obviously, Dysart Dynamo looks likely to go out from front. I'd imagine John Bon would just repeat the Aintree tactics. I mean, take it up at the bottom of the hill. Pass me if you can. Listen, if Al Fabiolo is good enough and his jumping set stands the test, he'll be able to get past him. But I think turning in, I think John Bon will be in front. And it's basically, I do genuinely think this could be one of the races of the week.
It will sure be a very good race. From one man from strong opinions to another, Johnny, what do you make of the Arkle this year? What camp are you siding in for?
El Fabiolo, but I wouldn't be ramming it on your throat at the same time. I do think John Bon is, like, his jumping is definitely a help over El Fabiolo. It's definitely more assured anyway. I do think it's a match of the same. I can't have Dysart Dynamo. I know people give that a chance, and there's even people putting up St. Roy. That can't possibly win St. Roy anyway, in my book.
There we go. The Johnny Dineen bingo is started.
Love the honesty, full on honesty.
But it's like that was on a different planet to them horses. Like even before it came down in Leopardstown, you know, it was like absolutely exposed completely. For the saying you can back it each way, there'll only be 3 places, but you're winning nothing at the same time, even if it is placed. Like Dysart Dynamo will make the run, but Dysart Dynamo's run against good horses 3 occasions. He ran in last year's Supreme, fell down the ground unconscious, ran Punchestown to nowhere he was, and finished bet out of sight the last day after getting the solo against El Fabiolo. So to me, he doesn't count. If I was sure that El Fabiolo would get round without putting in a mistake, I'd sell out on him, but I'm not sure of that. I don't think anyone can be absolutely sure. And as one of the guys said there, you're turning left all the time here, and that makes a difference. And they're not fences around corners, and they're tricky, and they're up and down hills and that. And that would stop me from having a big bet on El Fabiolo. I definitely think he's a better horse than John Bon. And like the second last fence is a treacherous thing here too. They're racing at 100 mile an hour into that. Like it's more dangerous now than it ever was, and they moved it like to take away the danger. To me, they've made the situation even worse. I'd be terrified of him making a bad mistake and falling, but I'm still going to back him though, because I do think he will beat John Bon with a clear. And it's going to be a small field, which surely will help him, like maybe navigate around that bit better, you know.
Johnny, is the 15 to 8 a good price? Are you going to be taking a bit of that?
Yes, it is. I probably will in a minute. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we might.
In the downtime. Lee, for the Arkle, where's your money going?
I actually think Dysart does have a good chance. It's 2 fences extra in this Arkle, and it's dropping down a furlong and a half. I think he'll take them a long way, but I think that might draw John Bon into it. I hope it doesn't turn into like a footpad race where El Fabiolo sits off them and like a petit mouchoir where Dysart blasts off and he comes through to win the race. I think John Bon will sit close enough, but not burn himself out, and I think he'll pick up the pieces. But I do think Dysart will take them a long way, and dropping down that furlong and a half from the last day, he would have still been in front. And that 2 extra fences in this Arkle will play to his strengths. I think them 2 are the best jumpers. El Fabiolo's just been too sticky for me, and I couldn't have him. So John Bon to beat Dysart.
Thank you very much. And Pete, you get the final say on the Arkle.
Yeah, it's like splitting your 2 kids, this one. I really find it difficult with both John Bon and El Fabiolo. I think, like, I get everything Lee's just said about Dysart Dynamo. If they leave him too far on the lead, he gets a bit of a pegging then, and they concentrate on each other too much, then I could see him getting it soft. But I think his price is very poor now. Like when he was first released, when he was first beaten in the DRF, he was not far off double figures. I mean, 4-1. The only people backing that are the each-way thieves, thinking that he's probably going to be less than 8 runners. So I think you're looking at this split shootout. I think El Fabiolo's got the best piece of form. But last year, John Bon was headed by El Fabiolo, and to battle back after being hammered so far by Constitution Hill. And again, we saw, obviously, I know it was Calico, and he's got about 20 pounds on that rival. He does like a fight. He was the same at Haydock last year before the Supreme. Like, he's not one who's going to lie down when the rival comes up to him. So I just find it so difficult to split him. At the moment, I'm with John Bon, but I just generally, I could wake up on Tuesday morning and suddenly I'm with El Fabiolo. And the difference is his price as well. Like, if I hadn't got a single bet in the race, like if you're offering me 15-8 El Fabiolo, then that's the bet.
Thing is, Ash, you were at the Nicky Anderson stable yard, the stable preview, the Cheltenham preview, and I mean, I got a bit of shit on Twitter after putting out saying John Bon half fit. You look at him in that preview a day after the race at Warwick. He looked like he'd eaten 2 full English breakfasts and he'd only walked around Warwick. He looked as round as a pig.
He was carrying condition. He was carrying some condition.
You know, he's not been fully fit all year.
At the same time. At the same time, he's carrying some condition, but also at the same time, like it was January, like he has to be in somewhat fitness. Like this isn't October we're talking about. Like he has to be somewhat race fit. Whether he's like 80% or 90%, he still has to be fairly decent. And it was worrying. I'd be in the John Bon camp personally. I think that if El Fabiolo gets a clean run, I could see him potentially just being the better horse. I think maybe in the back of my head, I think El Fabiolo is a better horse, but with the conditions, first time at Cheltenham, the way the old course is set up, I think it could just lend itself to John Bon, who's probably the more reliable in those situations. He does love a fight. If I was to give the one that I think can run on into the places for third, I wouldn't give Hollow Games too bad of a shout there. I thought he was really on his beginner's chase. He did give the last run, which got absolutely no run. I think he can have a fair, decent chance, but it would be firm in the John Bon camp. We'll go then to the champion hurdle, and this might be a little time-saving race for us, which is potentially what we might need. But obviously, Constitution Hill is top in the market, and Flynn will go ahead with you for the prices.
Yeah, just before I do the prices, I'm not sure if this got touched on at the start of the show when I wasn't here, but we do have a sign-up offer for this preview night. So promo code only 23, matching 25 free bets all accounts. So if you don't have an account and you sign up for that code, and you will get a matching £25 free bet. So in terms of the prices, like Ash just said, probably not one to spend a huge amount of time on. Constitution Hill was 3 on, State Man 5-2, Bowman 10-1, Honeysuckle 14, probably not going to go. I like to move it 14, Epton 16, and then 50 bar. I mean, this is just an each way thievery race, isn't it? Not one that us bookmakers like, but ones that the punters probably do.
Constitution Hill for me. Paul, is it Constitution Hill for you?
Yeah, bar a sniper, he wins as he likes. This is kind of, if you go back the years, this is where you'd like to have the likes of Theatre World. He was always good for an each way play in the champion hurdle many moons ago. But yeah, Constitution Hill, you want to see something special here.
Same again, Lee.
Yeah, I'm wearing the colours here from Racing Tees, Constitution Hill. I would say, I seen Johnny's preview on Up in the Ante earlier on. He was on about, without Constitution Hill, State Man is 2-5, but you can get even money in 5-4 for the forecast. I think that's nailed on. I think State Man is much the best. There he is, and he's Vauban top, Mr. Beard. Look,
Absolute state of that.
I can't have Vauban.
Is that muscle fit, is it?
I'll tell you what, look at that. I mean, I'm not the biggest, but I look like Hulk in this, don't
I can't have him. I think 5-year-old trying to step up. There's not many 5-year-olds done it. I think Catchett and the Gavin Cromwell horse, he done it a few years back, but it's hard for the 5-year-olds to step up to the top table. So I can't have Vauban. I like to move it each way. Definitely, he'll be the third for me. But I think Constitution Hill to beat Stateman. I can't wait for them to look each other in the eye at the bottom of the hill and see what Constitution Hill's got. To be fair,
Harry, you're wearing the colours of Vauban. Is Vauban the winner of the champion
this is
hurdle?
the winner. This is the winner.
Listen,
Doesn't matter about his top.
Vauban might not be the winner, but I think Johnny Dineen thinks Vauban is the winner. Now, am I right, Johnny? You think Vauban will win the champion hurdle?
Million.
Who, me, is this? Sorry.
Yeah. Do you think? Yeah. I'm pretty sure you said Vauban will win this year's champion hurdle. Am I right?
All right. Sorry. Get down. No. One second. Sorry.
Trying to help you out here.
Yeah. No. I think that guy has as good a chance as Vauban myself. I'll be surprised if Vauban won. Now, to be honest, I would.
What chance would you give?
The favourite should win, and I think Stateman will be second, and I think Vauban has a chance to be third because he's going to be ridden patiently to be third, probably. So, look, he's probably has a chance of beating. I like to move it. If you took out the front two in the betting, it was a straight race between Vauban and I'd like to move it. I'd like to move it to beat him, but I wouldn't be interested in backing him even in a match because you're betting on something that doesn't really exist. It's a nonsense bet, really. And look, it's a race I won't be having a bet in because the favourite's just that bit. He is short. Like he will win, all right. But look, you think you'd rather bet.
Tactics will play a good part, though. Tactics will play a good part. How are you going to get him beat? The race will be interesting.
There is no way.
Yeah, I don't see how they can. How they've tried nearly everything. He can make the running himself, but I'd say Stateman will make the running himself, and maybe try to keep a bit for himself when he does come. When inevitably he's going to come up alongside him. That's easier said than done. I can't see him holding him anywhere. But look, I don't see any tactics that you have any chance of getting Constitution Hill beaten.
Is he your forecast though? Would Stateman be the best in after them?
Look again. If your man got to him at the second last, Stateman could fall away in the running. Who knows? And something run through for second place. I would fancy Stateman to beat the rest of them in a proper race, but without Constitution Hill. But if he wasn't in it, but when he is in it, it makes finishing second a bit of a lottery. I just think it's a race to just watch and look on and as a betting medium, it won't be one I'll be getting involved in anyway.
I won't be one I'll be getting involved in either. Pete, Constitution Hill, he's a bit of a machine, isn't he?
Yeah, my only fear, and I've been thinking this for weeks, is I just really hope we're not robbed in the fact that like something happens, like an incident, or he's unseated, or like as in someone takes him out. That's literally my only fear, because bar that, I don't see a single way. He'll go from the front, he could go out wide, he can sit in behind, and I'm not thinking this is even going to be remotely close. It wouldn't surprise me if it's similar to like the Supreme, where it's 10, 15 lengths coming down the hill. Like I rate Stateman, but I don't rate what he's beaten this year. Honeysuckle's on the downgrade. And I just think, he could be anything still, but I think Constitution Hill is going to be something special. Nico said last night on a preview, he said, I'm just going to be looking to keep it simple. So I'm hoping that if he's not going from the front, he's going to give himself daylight at every hurdle, sit out wide, and then when he clicks a button, it's gone and game over.
Yeah, it'd be definitely it's going to be a race, fingers crossed, I can enjoy quite a lot. Emma, final say on this. Constitution Hill, he's the winner, correct?
Yeah, barring some kind of tragedy or if he fell or something like that, probably the only way he'd be beaten, really. Look, I respect Stateman an awful lot. I think he's a very good horse, but, it's hard to kind of judge how close he can get to him. Nicky's kind of saying this fella's a machine, and Nicky has trained plenty of champion hurdle winners, so he should know. Look, if for some chance they were actually closer than we were putting them out to be, and it became a tactical race, like I'd fancy Stateman, because I think Paul Town in a tactical battle over Nico de Boyne will probably get the better of him, but I don't really see it happening myself. So yes, Constitution Hill wins, I'd say.
Hopefully we can all enjoy a very, very special performance. The final race we'll talk about in depth really on the Tuesday is the Mares Hurdle, and I'm expecting some big opinions from this because there's plenty in it with a chance. Flynn, talk us through the current betting market for it.
So Honeysuckle's 9-4, Epatante 3-1, Marie's Rock 3-1, Brandy Love 11-2, Echoes in Rain 6, Love Envoy 6, and then you're 9 to 1 bar.
Do you have a fancy for it, Flint?
It's a bit of a difficult one, really, because I love Marie's Rock. I just think she's so underrated. The market has cottoned on a little bit now, the fact that she's 3 to 1. But in previous starts, I mean, when you look at when she won at Punchtown, she was a big price. When she ran at Cheltenham recently, she was a big price. Quite a big drifter that day, actually. So she's not very well respected in the day of race markets, Marie's Rock, but she doesn't do a huge amount wrong. She's a winning machine. It might be because she has that tendency to have a high head carriage. She looks like she travels too keenly, but she runs through the line every single time she wins. So if she went here, I think she'd win. And if she went to the stayers, I think that she'd have a great chance there. That high head carriage makes you think that she's not going to stay and she's going to kind of blow her chance a bit early, but she just doesn't. She just stays on very, very well, even with her style of running. So wherever Marie's Rock goes, she'll be having my money behind her, definitely.
Thank you. We'll go back over to Emma for this one. Very open Mares Hurdle. Where would your money be lining with?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of the races of the week, really, looking at it now, and it's probably a race that gets plenty of its doubters. But, look, I don't think Honeysuckle is probably regressing as people are saying, as much as people are saying she is, but she probably is short enough as well, and she's probably going to get only shorter as the day goes on, you know, being such a kind of a well-known horse. People are just going to back her and back her and back her, so she's probably going to get shorter. One who I like is Echoes in Rain. I think she was very, very impressive last time in the Limestone Lad at Naas. She beat Cashback and Bob Ollinger very well that day. Look, she showed her a class in the flat all summer. She was very good in the big qualified riders race in Galway, and she was just off Waterville and Mrs. Arrowich as well. So, you know, she's a very classy animal. Didn't perform here last year, but I think she's kind of settling. She's maturing a bit, and you know, often she'd kind of blow herself out during the race. She pulled very hard, but I think she's kind of getting over that now. So I think she has a good chance to be right up there with them. So yeah, she's probably the one I'm going to back.
I'm going to have to agree with you this, and it's my only sort of really one for the race. I've been over Echoes in Rain since before the Limestone Lads. I think she's got an absolutely cracking chance. I think she's improved plenty on the flat. That Waterville run you said there, a really big run, and she was running really well behind Tiupu in the Hatton's Grace before falling. So I'm fully in the Echoes in Rain camp. Paul, which camp would you be in for the Mares Hurdle?
I'm a big fan of Love Envoy. Big fan of the owners as well. I think Dave Cross and Noel Feely, what they've done is incredible. Like, I remember Dave Cross, like, was champion amateur, like, many moons ago, would have gone to the festival with plenty of rides. And then as the rides were drying up, he was probably one of the first to be thinking outside the box. Like, I remember when Crossy rides were drying up, like, Dave was going around cleaning and hoovering cars and what have you. Like, he's just incredible. And what he's done here with the Noel Feely Racing Syndicate is brilliant. Like, and if I was a euro behind you on this now, I wouldn't mind getting involved. I was going to get involved. It'd be the Dave Cross Syndicate I'd be going for. When you look at through her form, like, she's ran 9 times. She's only been beaten once. Like, she's never finished out of the first 2. She was a good winner at Sandown last time out. She does a bit like Marie's Rock. She does everything wrong, and she still manages to win. And it would probably be a worrying sign if you went out and saw that she settled and dropped her head. It probably would be worrying given her character. But she's been an incredible mare, and I hope the story continues. The more rain that falls as well, the better. So I'm in the Love Envoy camp.
Thank you very much. Lee, the Mares Hurdle, where will you be siding with?
I love Marie's Rock in this. I'm hoping she goes here. I just read before, Connection says if there's soft in it, she'll go to this race over the stairs. I hope she does. I think she'll beat these, and I think beating the boys the last day in the Rel Keel, she was a long way ahead of Dashel Drasher, who's a solid yardstick. First Street was in behind. He had won the Jerry Fielding before that. I Like to Move It was practically tailed off. Nappers Hill, them are solid yardsticks, and she sprinted up the hill. She done it last season. She beat Queensbrook. That horse beat Brandy Love the last day. Solid yardstick again, and I just think she's the classiest one. I think she'll sprint away from these, and I'd back her all day long over these. I have kind of took a turn on Brandy Love. I watched it back a few times, and I do think she'll be the one who takes a chunk forward from her last run. Beating Anna Benina for second is not the strongest of form, but just everything was against that, and I think she'll step forward the most out, but I can't get away from Marie's Rock if she goes here.
Thank you very much, Lee. Johnny, I know a horse that you can't have, and it's actually a horse you said is your pretty much lay of the week on Upping the Ante, is Honeysuckle. What are you going to be taking Honeysuckle on with?
Look, I was hoping Marie's Rock would run here because I did fancy it in this race. It's not beyond the bounds of possibility that she'll still run, isn't it? Like, she's still only about 5 or 6 to 1, and even in the machine there for this race. So, like, she's a shorter price for the mare hurdle now, all of a sudden, than she is for the stairs. Maybe that's because of the rain coming in. They might think she'd get the trip properly over 3 Mile and softer ground. There's also a chance that Honeysuckle is going to switch into the champion hurdle there. That's what the guy told me this evening. They've
left her in the race, haven't they? They've left a couple in the race.
Apparently, the way she's working, like, you've heard all this stuff before too, but apparently she's working so well that they're considering running her in the champion hurdle now instead of the mare's hurdle.
Really?
So, look, I heard she's working well. I can't have her anyway. Like, she was supposed to be working well going into the last meeting as well. So, look, if she wins, she wins. I'm putting my money down anyway. I'll take my chances on her. I think there's plenty of horses in this race have a chance of beating her. Even without Marie's Rock, I would be a lot more comfortable laying her if Marie's Rock is in the race. A lot more comfortable. But even without her, you still have 4 or 5 other horses that have a good chance. I think Ante will beat her for starters, and then you have others with good chances as well. To me, she's a chance of blowing out completely. Very big chance of not even being placed. I know fellas think that can't happen. Well, I can see that happening. Can see it happening. Definitely can see it happening, because if she's off the bridle as far out as she was in the Irish Champion hurdle, she won't even be placed in this race. And like 2.5 miles, I don't know. I can't have her anyway. I'm willing to put my money down anyway and take my chances.
It'll be interesting to see where she turns up and how she goes in either race that she goes to. Harry, we'll keep this quick on the mares. What do you fancy for this?
Yeah, I completely agree. If you get a match bet between Epatante and Honeysuckle, I'd definitely be taking Epatante to beat her. I do think the two have slightly regressed, but I think Honeysuckle has regressed more than Epatante. You could argue that Epatante beat it. It was a nothing race at Doncaster last time, but I do think that Epatante would have been closer if she won in the champion hurdle last year. If she'd have jumped the last, she then went to Aintree and she fairly dotted up. This trip is ideal for her, I think, as she's getting of age. And I just think she is, at this current stage, I think she'd beat Honeysuckle. However, I do think Brandy Love will win this race. I just think she has. It was actually a really good run. Now, according to RPRs, it was actually her best performance to date. It was an RPR of 151. She was beaten 4 lengths, but she looked like the winner turning in. She showed that turn of kick. She clearly wants to go left-handed. She jumps left-handed. She hangs left-handed. She definitely wants to go this way. She's already beat Love Envoy by 8 lengths. Now, how many horses in here could say they beat a horse of Love Envoy's caliber by 8 lengths in their career? I think Brandy Love is...
Would you say out of anyone you would like to rate Brandy Love? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe on a Friday night after a few vodka cokes, but listen, we'll move on.
The 101's landed. The 101's landed.
Yeah, but no, I think Brandy Love 6 to 1. Listen, if she wins, then I might give Brandy actually a call on Tuesday evening. But no, we'll move on from that one. We'll move on.
Just you wouldn't expect anything less from you. And Pete, what were you fancying for the mare's hurdle?
I agree with pretty much everything everyone said there, but I'm a big fan of Marie's Rock. I think it's one of those where if she runs in the race, I think it's her and then the rest. I think if she doesn't run, I think it's wide open. But her form last year, just like Flynn said, she's massively underrated. She's always sent off a bigger price. But I think people are finally catching on. The real kill form was good. She did the double last year, winning the mares at Cheltenham and then following up at Punchestown. She hammered Epatante, but obviously, Epatante had put on a best at Aintree, and that was her 3rd run in 5 weeks. So, arguably, maybe she was a little tired from that. But Marie's Rock looks a standout. I like Brandy Love, but my fear is that I thought that was a perfect run for maybe November, December time. 3 weeks is not a lot of time to have a turnaround and to go on. But if anyone could do it, it's Willie Mullins. But to keep it short, I think Marie's Rock.
Thank you very much. Right, I'm going to go around the boards. Just strong fancies then for the other 3 races we haven't covered, the Ultima, the Boodles and the National Hunt Chase. I'll go back to you first of all, Pete. Anything for the rest of the race we haven't covered for the Tuesday?
Yeah, so I've got 2 strong fancies in the same race, and that's the Ultima. And they both were placed, they won and 3rd last year. And that's the winner last year was Correct Rambler, and 3rd was Oscar Elite. Correct Rambler's only been put up £6. Oscar Elite's been put up £1. Oscar Elite ran a career best last time out. And if you watch the race last year, turning in, he looked the winner. He was hanging off the bridle, and it looked a question of how far. And then he got into a back with Jared Colt Roque all the way down the straight. And then Corrick Rambler just came from the clouds and robbed them both. And that was a brilliant performance from him, considering he made such hard work of it himself early on. But I think with Corrick Rambler, for only having £6, he's had 2 quiet runs this year, because obviously they're prepping towards the national. The stats, there's 4 out of the last 6 winners have come from the Coral Gold Cup, the old Hennessy, which both of those 2 contested. And you looked at Corrick Rambler in the background of that race, and he looked like he was being nudged around in one of those Navan handicaps ready for Cheltenham. So, yeah, to keep it short, those 2, I think they've got a massive chance. And the Irish, I think something like 0 for 15 in this. So I'm sticking with the Brits.
Thank you very much. Paul, anything strong for the other 3 races we haven't covered on the Tuesday?
Nothing in the juvenile hurdle in particular, but in the ultimate, yeah, I think Corrick Rambler, it's probably, if I was having a winning bet, I'd say Corrick Rambler would be the one, £6 higher from last year. I think he'll be suited by the pace of the race, and yeah, I think around about the 7-1 mark, he's, I think that's a bit of value. If I was having a fun bet in the race, there should be extra places here. Fortescue, from my old boss Henry Daly, would have the ability, if he was humoured into it, maybe to run into a place, but equally he could be pulled up after half a mile. And in the almost 4-miler, the National Hunt Chase, to close the card, I'm quite looking forward to Churchstone Warrior. I was at Navan the last day, and I know Malar Mission was connections fancied him now. They thought he'd win, but Aidan Coleman, it was his only ride on the card. He came over to ride Churchstone Warrior. I know he has to reverse the form with Gillard de Mesnil, but I'd be interested to see how Churchstone Warrior gets on in the National Hunt Chase.
Thank you very much. We'll go Emma next for anything strong for the rest of the Tuesday.
Yeah, look, I agree in Corrick Rambler. He'll take a fair bit of beating. Maybe at a bigger price, I think Top Vale Ben could run a big race in the Ultima. Thought he ran a great race in Leopardstown the last time. To Cow and the Boodles, I think he deserves an awful lot of respect. He'd probably be more of a triumph for us, maybe if we didn't have the other 2 superstars. Thought he was very eye-catching behind Gada Marceau last time, and I think Gada de Mesnil will take all the beating in the National Hunt Chase. He's probably just the classiest horse in the race. I can't really see him being beat either.
No, he's very interesting, definitely. Johnny, anything for the 2 handicaps on the National Hunt Chase?
Yeah, I fancy Corrick Rambler myself. I think he's a great chance. He's gone up £6. It's not a lot considering he's left 20 lengths at the start last year. I think he got a good start last year. He won alone. Tekau is the horse to beat in the Boodles, even though he's favourite. They're going to keep the weights down by leaving the top horse in, and that'll give him a respectable weight rather than lumping the top. And I'll be all in the River Lane, the last favourite anyway. Galliard, I don't fancy it at all. He does shocking price 5 to 4. I think it's half 6 or 7 horses can beat that anyway. And I've a great one, the mighty Manila Crooner actually. Manila Crooner, that must be doing things real right, because they've talked Bon O'Neill, who is the best amateur in the country, an Irish in Ireland, and obviously England, because there's no amateurs in England. So he's the best amateur riding in the race, and they've talked him off a horse of McConnell's that looked to have a good chance, and they've got him onto Manila Crooner. He's definitely working well in Manila Crooner. I think the favourite's horrific odds now, 5 to 4. Terrible shot.
It's Johnny versus Emma then on the final race of the National Hunt Chase. It's ding ding round 1. Flynn, anything strong for the rest of the Tuesday?
Just very briefly, I echo what Pete said around Oscar Elite, running off 139, like Pete said, £1 higher than last year. Worth noting that he bled post-race last year as well. So when he travelled up like he was going to win, and he went out very, very quickly, that might have been one of the reasons. But he beat a 145 horse the last day by 7 lengths off levels. So he's shown that he might be back to his best. Don't forget he came second in Albert Bartlett to Vanillier. So he's top class, and I just think that if he is back to his best and doesn't have those breathing issues or bleeding issues, then he could go very close here.
Thank you very much. We'll stick it then with us 3 for the Only Fools Love Horses. I'll go Lee first of all for your sort of strongest for the rest of the day.
Well, the 2 have been mentioned already, but I really like Corrick Rambler to go in again. It was a false start the last day. Ended up last, jumping the first. I think he was about 20th or something, jumping 3 out and come home like a train. He had plenty in hand, won by about 3 lengths. He dropped a pound since its last run in the Coral Gold Cup, and second that day was remastered. He bolted up afterwards. Last season as well, the Coral Chase winner at Kempton, Stolen Silver. He was a long way of beating this race. There's plenty of form lines like the Oscar Lee form lines who have come out one since. I think £6 won't make a difference to him, and I think he'll be trained for the race. And I like to KO as well. Put him up on the Anti-Post series a fair few weeks back there, and I was on a preview with Imperial Racing the other day. So Patrick Mullins was on the phone. He says, I'd be shocked if this was just a handicapper. He thinks it's a graded horse, and he thinks it'll win it. And like Johnny says, that they're keeping McTeague in with the family there to keep the weights down. So to KO and Corrick Rambler for me. Harry,
finish it off for us.
Oscar Elite is probably my only other play in this race. As the lads have mentioned, I don't need to go into all the wishy-washy things, but I just think he's a horse who just keeps. He looks well handicapped, but I think he's a better horse this time round than 12 months ago. He fairly bolted in last time at Ascot. Still think he's well in. And listen, if he turns the bend as he did last time, I don't think there'll be many that catch him.
Thank you very much. All good here. I'm going to go for. I've got a couple now. I'd say I give the Goffer a chance in the Ultima. I think he's a very, very good horse. He's been put up a couple pounds in the weight, so he could just be weighted out of this. But I give him a chance. I thought he won well the last day over the long distance. Same race, Cloudy Glen, only £5 up from his Ladbrokes Gold Cup win a couple of seasons back now. So I give him a chance to the Ultima. I'm all in Common Practice for the Boodles. I've been on him for a couple of months now. I think he's got a very good chance. And Manila Crooner as well, the National Hunt Chase. I'll be with Johnny on that one. I think he's got quite a good chance of the National Hunt Chase up in distance to that maximum distance for the first time. Brilliant stuff. We'll go on to day two then. We spent plenty of time on the opening day there, the big roar, the big excitement. And if you've had a bad day on day one, this could be one that helps you out here. The Ballymore Novices Hurdle. Very interesting race this. Flynn, would you run through your prices and anything you might fancy?
Yeah, so the favourite here is Empire et Pass at 2-1. Hermes and Ends in there at 11-4. Gaelic Warriors 9-2. Goodland 5-1. Champ Kylie 6. Facile Vega 6. And then your 10-1 bar. Look, there's been a huge amount of support after the preview circuit for the Munir favourite. I'm going to call it the Munir favourite, so I have to keep pronouncing the name. Who's now into 2-1, was obviously much bigger after the fantastic performance the last day. But I think Hermes Alen, I think, will be a little bit overlooked here now, and is probably the play at the prices. The ground the last day, I think it was at Newbury, was absolutely horrific. And a lot of the fancy horses those days were really struggling, but Hermes Alen was one that put in a really good performance. Was kind of kept away from all the other runners that day, and I thought it was a great ride. So I think he might have a touch of class, and I think that all of the hype around this favourite now has really constricted that price. And as a bookmaker, those are the ones that we really want to lay when they've got a little bit falsely short. I'll probably be making it silly now, and it will absolutely dot up. But I'll be taking on the favourite with the second in.
Johnny, you're an Impere Pass fan, aren't you?
No, not really. There's good talk of him, though. Imperial Pass, very good talk of him. It's going to be short too. It's going to be under 2-1. Look, they're kind of the vibes from the yard are very, very strong, and you can't ignore that either. No matter what you think, you can't ignore the vibes. When it's almost as if Gaelic Warrior isn't even running in this race. You know what I mean? There's not even no horse that has not been mentioned by people that should know from this yard. They say he's a real good horse in Pure Pass. He doesn't have the form to just yet to suggest he's that good. He wasn't going to be part of my. He's still not going to be part of my plan as regards backing him. No, I'm not going to back him, but I couldn't really maybe go against him for too much at the same time. Horse I like in the race is In the Pocket. I think that is a great chance. In the Pocket, it's been like a lot of horses being primed specifically for this race, and the race that won in Naas was a very, very good race against Streetcar Bragg and Absolute Notions. That's as good a form as anything in this race, and he beat Absolute Notions further than Goodland. Goodland's about 5-1. This horse is about 14-1. So I don't really see why he does that kind of a disparity between him and Goodland. Goodland has a chance to, and so has I suppose Gaelic Warrior has a bit of a chance. And there's another one like Champ Kylie. It's a very deep contest now. Hermes Allen is in it too. So he's second favourite. I don't fancy that now, to be honest. But look, I'm going to have something on In the Pocket each way. But the way they're talking, the favourite will be hard to beat.
Yeah, it's a very deep contest, isn't it, Pete? Which one have you sort of landed on for the Ballymore?
Yeah, I totally agree. You could generally make a case for pretty much all of them. You go all the way through. You've got Group 1 winners like Champ Kylie, just completely. People don't even mention him on the preview circuits.
Yeah.
I like the front two in the market, both for very similar reasons. They're both slick jumpers, strong travellers, and they quicken off a pace. But if I was picking one of the two, although he's short, I'd go with Impere Pass, just because the Irish, you look at the stats and they're in their favour. Willie Mullins obviously knows what he's got, and I know obviously Harry won't like it, but I do think this is probably Mullins' best novice hurdler, and I think that's why they've been kept apart. Obviously, as soon as obviously I can't remember what the Group 1 is that he won over in Ireland, and everyone was like, well, he's definitely going to Supreme. And the fact that he's kept them apart still,
Moscow
regardless.
Flyout was, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, so I think he is the best of theirs. He does lack experience, and obviously the Group 1 wins like some of the others in the field, and maybe 2-1 is a bit short with the field with so much depth. But it wouldn't surprise me if 10 minutes after the race you're thinking, oh yeah, he's a good one, and he's maybe one of their sort of champion hurdle horses next year.
Emma, are you going to be sticking with the Irish for the Ballymore?
Yeah, I've been on good land for a long time now. I backed him for this actually after his win at Christmas. He beat Embassy Gardens and Search for Glory and a few other kind of nice horses that day. So I can't really desert him now. I suppose 5-1. I suppose it's still a fair enough price about him. Grade 1 winner coming into the race. He has the form in the book. He'll be thereabouts anyway. He'll give you a good run for your money. I would be wary of Impere Pass, right? Though he looks like a classy animal, and the vibes about him are very, very strong. I think the Mullins can think an awful lot of him, and I agree. I think it's kind of notable that they kept himself and Facile Vega separate. The Ballymore seemed to always be the plan for this lad. I think they were trying to keep them apart, probably for a reason. But look, I'm still with good land. I won't bother back in Impere Pass now. He's a bit short, but yeah, good land for me. He's the one in this.
Good land for the good people. Paul, are we siding with good land as well, or are you maybe looking into Impere Pass potentially?
No, Impere Pass a bit short for me, so I'm with good land. Slight concern would be his tendency to race a bit keen. He can over race a little bit, which will do him no favours come to business end. But Impere Pass is a bit short. I backed Hermes Allen the last time, but his trainer has yet to win this race, and he's training in England, so probably has no chance in this race. Gaelic Warrior's just tendency to jump out right. You can't really get away with that. I don't think around here. You'd have to be something special to do that. So, yeah, good land. As Emma said, I think 5-1's fair.
I think I'm going to be very sad by the end of the Ballymore because I've made a point of not backing Goodland because I backed him at 16 for the Albert Bartlett, and then he went too short for the Ballymore. I've just got off the train now. I can't get back on. Harry, the Ballymore, where would you be looking for this race?
Yeah, look, I didn't really have a big opinion in this race, but then as the last couple of days, I have came round to Goodland. I just think this horse is Barry Connell. I mean, if he won't win the Supreme, but I think he's got a good chance in the Ballymore. Listen, this horse was really impressive, and do you know what? The actual form lines that I've taken from this is his actual maiden hurdle at Leopardstown. He beat Embassy Gardens by about 9.5 lengths, and that horse then came out at Turles and won by 35. He's 7-1 for the Bartlett. Listen, I think he'll stay all day. As Paul mentioned, he is a free goer, which obviously it's not ideal. However, if they don't go a good clip, which they won't because Champ Carley's in this, I just think he'll be in a perfect position. And I think Michael O'Sullivan, listen, he's been riding out of his skin the whole season. I think I genuinely think this is his best chance for a winner, and I think Goodland is overpriced at 6-1.
There's a bit of agreement there on Goodland, and Lee, what do you like for the Ballymore as the final one?
I like Goodland as well. I'm pleased to hear everyone likes him. The problem is in Impere Pass, if you're not on him already, you'll struggle to take 2-1. He could well blow this field apart, but he'd not be one for me at the prices. Gaelic Warrior, like Paul says, his tendency to jump out, I couldn't have him, especially after the Boodles last year. He was in the Guinness Village half the time, and I couldn't have him. And I just thought the solid one was Goodland. I really like that Nathaniel Lacey race. It often throws up good horses, and you need to stay to win that. It was 2-6, so you'll have no problem coming up the hill. And yeah, I think he's a solid one, Goodland. I do think Champ Carley has been overlooked. That Lola's an ace race often does point the way to this race, but I'd take Goodland each way, and I think against the favourites. I can't have Hermes Allen just because that shallow hurdle form never works out, and they've been coming out, but they've not been beaten much in behind. And yeah, Paul Nicholls' record in the race as well would put us off. So good land me.
I think this could be a Simon Munir and Isaac Swade 1-2. I like him Pere Pass. I liked him before this preview night. Information came out when he was sort of like 3-1. Then it's sort of like been simmering since. I think he's got a smashing chance. But I also I like Dark Raven. I think he's got a bit of a chance. I think I can't remember. It was one of the jockeys of Inside Willie Muns's yard. He did an article with Sporting Life. They said they really liked his chances and they thought he's a little bit understated in the market. I thought it was a nice run behind Elate Tomp at the Dublin Racing Festival. Probably of his wrong distance. They want to be stepping him up in trip. I thought his bumper wins were brilliant to beat Itzo Fury. His debut as well back in March 2021. I think he's a really, really good horse. I think he's been a little bit missed in the market potentially. So I'd be taking both of them. Dark Raven 25-1 or roundabouts that and Pere Pass. We'll go to the Brown Advisory then, the next Grade 1 on the Wednesday. A bit of an interesting contest this. Jerry Colomb obviously topping the market. Flynn, what's the money saying for this race?
Yeah, Jerry Colomb very, very strong out of the head of the market into 13-8 was bigger towards the start of the week. Mighty Potter's in there at 7-2, obviously non-runner, no bet. The Real Whacker is 4-1, Sir Gerhard is 5, Time Hill is 5, Galliard de Menil is 6, and then your 10-1 Bar. I mean, it's really shortened up towards the head of the market here with Jerry Colomb. I was kind of going through this race earlier, and I watched some replays of Jerry Colomb, and I'm just not sure how good he really is. It's probably going to raise a few eyebrows there, but I don't think the form warrants him being a 13-8 shot in this race. I thought that the Real Whacker at 4-1 opposing is probably the way to go. Ideal type for this, versatile ground-wise. Does absolutely nothing in front as well, the Real Whacker. If you watch back the Cheltenham runs, as soon as he gets to the front, just doesn't do a tap. So you can probably upgrade those performances a fair bit. And if you're taking 4-1 against someone that's 13-8, and there's some collateral form in there as well, with I think it's Thunder Rock. So they're not miles apart in terms of form, but my point being that you're taking 4-1 against a 13-8 chance. I'd much rather do that.
Can I get a show of hands? I'm going to do this differently because Jerry Colomb's splitting opinions quite a lot. Show of hands. Are you backing Jerry Colomb at the festival? I want it up in the air. I know at least two of you. One, two.
Put two hands up.
If the ground is a swamp, if the ground is soft.
No, Harry, get off the fence. The splinters will be causing problems. Come on.
It's me and
I want to be eating by the end of the week, and if the ground's good, I'm not going to be backing him. So if it's a swamp, then yes, I'll back him.
Gordon Elliott come out the other day and he says he's not so reliant as people keep making out. Fran Berry was
interviewing
him.
He is.
He says he's not because he won the other day at Sandown.
Is that based on one of his losses? Is it, Harry?
I know what's it based on. He's never run on it, so you can't know. This step up and trip will suit him down at the ground. My lay of the week would be the Real Whacker. He jumps for fun, but he's a shocking price, absolute terrible price. And this Jerry Colomb will eat them for fun. He'll come up that hill strongly. That trip will suit him well. He beat Adamantly Chosen, who's I think is going to go at this race. He beat him at Christmas in a race tailor-made for him, that Fahim Novice. But the last day, things were against him at Sandown, and he still managed to win. He beat Bartlett Coastal, who beat Solo by 9 lengths. He come out and won the Grade 2 at Kempton. There's plenty of form lines, so Jerry Colomb, he's the best bet of the week.
I'm going to try to hit all the Jerry Colomb backers in one turn. So we're going to go to Emma first. I know you're very strong.
Come on, Emma. Give it.
Keep it simple. Why are you in the Jerry Colomb camp?
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think he's as ground dependent as everyone's making out. I think he proved that at Sandown the last stage. No, he won on good to soft over 2 mile 5, which wouldn't be his ideal ship. I think the 3 miles would bring out the best of him in him. So he hasn't been beaten to date. I think he's kind of a Gold Cup horse in waiting, to be honest. He's very lazy, I don't think we've seen the best of him, and there's looking through the field, I don't see anything that can really beat him. Like, you're looking at the Real Whacker, can have him. Time Hill, he won the Quarter Star, but there's absolutely nothing in that race. So Gerhard, question, will he even stay? Will he jump? Sure, no one knows. Will he even be there jumping the last fence? So I think Jerry Colomb, I think he's rock solid, and I can't see anything beating him, to be honest.
I'm going through the comments here. Anthony McCarthy, Jerry Colomb, big time. We've got plenty of Jerry Colomb fans in the comments, and Paul put 2 hands up. So you must be a double Jerry Colomb backer here.
Yeah, absolutely. He just keeps winning. I thought he got the job done at Sandown last time out, and I know connections, the vibes from the yard are pretty strong, are pretty sweet. And Jordan Gernford was confirmed for the ride pretty early on in the week. So yeah, I'd be all over him.
Yeah, it's very interesting. He is. And Pete, you were the final Jerry Colon backer. Go ahead.
Yeah, I find a lot of people seem to be either like proper die-hard Jerry Colon fans or not interested at all. Like, I wouldn't say I'm die-hard. I was late to the party, but I do think he's the most likely winner, and I think it's hard not to back him here, just because the rest of the field is just pretty much dross.
They're terrible in behind.
I'm not sure. And the fact that they've supplemented Adamantly Chosen today, that would waver my enthusiasm that Sir Gerhard would even turn up here. The real whacker went toe-to-toe with Indigo Breeze. That wouldn't be in one of Elliot's top 20 horses, so that's probably £20 to find with that horse. But I can see it would not surprise me if he's second or third, so he's a great each-way bet if you like those sort of bets. And then Time Hill, I was a fan of at the start of the season, but I think I just went into the race like with my eyes closed, because my issue for that is the fact that he went over hurdles for 3 seasons. They don't fare well when they're that exposed, but he has got, obviously, he's got the best staying form. I just worry about his jumping. Like, if you look at the way Jerry Colon winged the last 2 to win that race at Sandown when he looked beat, as opposed to a horse like Time Hill, I'm not convinced he could do that. If Time Hill's there, though, with Jerry Colon, then obviously that will be a proper battle. So I think Time Hill is the best. Obviously, he's the best hurdler, but it's just the fact that I just worry about him being able to go through one and put his all in. So, yeah, Jerry Colon.
Yeah, Harry, you're in the Time Hill camp, aren't you? Am I correct in saying?
I am. Listen, Jerry Colon, I do believe if it is soft, I think Jerry Colon is the most likely winner. However, I think at the prices, I mean, I just think 5 to 1 for Time Hill is a massive, massive price. You're telling me the real whacker is a better horse than Time Hill? Are you being serious? No.
He's a better jumper, but he's not got the class of a Time Hill.
Listen, Time Hill comes alive at Cheltenham. He loves the festival. He ran an absolute blinder in the Stayers last year. He ran well in the Albert Bartlett when he was beaten by Monkfish, when he got an absolute. He had a horrid time of things. I mean, Dickie Johnson came back in and he looked like he wanted to kill someone. He was fuming. I just think that this horse was bad at Newbury. And I was on him at Newbury. I thought he was going to win. I thought he was a better horse than McFabulous. And he is. He proved that at Kempton on his last time. I just think if he sharpens his jumping up, he'll come alive at the festival. And as Pete, you mentioned, if it turns into a little bit of a stamina test, I think Time Hill will not be... I mean, he won't be a tough egg.
If he's there 2 out, he's massive chance.
Yeah, he'll be a tough egg to crack, I think. And listen, he's a 9-year-old, but he's an old boy. But Edwardstone, he had a few seasons going hurdling, and then turn up as a second season chaser that he was in his novice days. So listen, I do think Time Hill is a big price in this, but the ground's a swamp, and I think Jerry Colon.
Johnny, what's your brand advisory horse? Because you weren't with your hand up for the for Jerry Colon.
Yeah, look, Jerry Colon to me is slightly ground dependent. I think the softer the ground, the better his chances. Like he'd be a. I didn't put my hand up because if the ground is good to yielding or whatever you like to call it over there, I think I'd leave him win. But if the ground was soft or maybe softer, he'd be a bet then. Or he would. He definitely would. I think 3 miles will be up his alley. I think he'll stay further than 3 mile actually, and I think it was Emma said that he's a Gold Cup horse. I agree. I think he's a Gold Cup horse in the making now. He's never been beaten. His little bits of vulnerable form, even though he's won, are on as close as you get to good ground against Ida's boy in Thurles last year, and even in the race in Sandown. I thought he was going to win 100 yards down the far side, but he was kind of all out at the finish. You know what I mean? He was probably never getting beat, but. I think his running Sandown could leaves him slightly vulnerable. But if the ground was soft, or like if it was something like last year with last year's Wednesday, you'd sell out in him then. Absolutely sell out in him. He'll mangle these things in this race if he gets that kind of surface. On a good surface, I just about be worried about him. I think he's maybe a stone better on heavy ground, and like he might still win on goodish ground, but I wouldn't back him on goodish ground.
I'll tell you who's a big price, Ash, in this. If the ground is soft, as you've mentioned, now if you're looking for places, one horse that will absolutely love the soft, and if it's a swamp, Dan Skelton's Galia Delato. Now she'll get the allowance. She'll be a big price, but she won't be 10 to 1 on the day if the ground is soft or heavy or whatever it says. I think
Dan Skelton Dan Skelton gave Galliard a toe as his nap of the festival if it turns up soft for this race. So
he's hardly got many.
I know Dan hasn't maybe got the strongest team in the world now, but like he was quite sweet on her chances. So she could be interesting. And I'll be going down with the real whacker. I think he's got a good chance. I think this could. You could set up I could see a genuine possibility where this race just they let the real whacker go and he gets into a rhythm and they just don't claw him back. He may not be the best horse in the race, but I feel like he's he's the most solid horse. Like he go on most grounds, he'll get round. He's shown that. The Indigo Breeze form, yes, all right, okay, fair enough, Pete. You got a little jab below the belt there in that one. It was maybe not the best piece of form in the world.
It's only because I backed Indigo Breeze at the DRS.
So did I.
I thought he's £20 well in, and he showed nothing.
Honestly, it was awful. But no, I'd be in the real whacker camp, and I think he's got a very solid chance. I'd be surprised he's not out of the top three. I think he's got the class to.
I'd be surprised if he is in the top three.
Oh, you lot, honestly. Right, we'll go for the Queen Mother Champion Chase, and we'll go quite quickly with this because I feel like it could be one of two horses. So we'll go around the room. We'll go to Flynn first of all, the pricing for the Champion Chase, and then we'll go around which camp everyone's in.
Yeah, so Energumene is obviously the 7-4 favourite. This is where the Wednesday boost comes in. So we've gone 9-4 from 7-4 Edwardstone. Then Editor the Geet is 11-2. Gentleman to Me 8-1. Blue Lord 10. Then your 20 bar. I'm just going to ignore the first three horses in the market here and just have a little talk about Gentleman to Me, who I think is the forgotten horse in the race because he's in there at 8-1. It takes him ages to get fit, so he's obviously had a few runs this season. I think I saw Patrick Mullins sort of start the season say that it just takes him so long to get Gentleman to Me fit. We saw what he could do at Aintree last year. He obviously had a great performance in the Grade 1 chase, the Grade 1 Dublin chase last time out. And I don't think that's a fluke either. So I just think that at 8-1, in a stacked race, to be fair, but 7-4 about the favourite who's ran terribly last time, or you can take 8-1 about a horse that has shown real good form. So I just think that he's got a proper engine, and I just think at the price, he's a knocking each way bet.
Very interesting. I'd be all over that boost you've got there for Edwardstone. I am fully in his camp. I think he did really well the last day, and I was surprised he didn't actually win the race from his position. But I thought he did really well. So I'd be Edwardstone, and I'll go to Paul next. Where will you be looking for the Champion Chase? Are you in one of the two camps?
Yeah, I'm with Edwardstone. I think a proper strong run 2 mile will suit him, and I think it's going to be hopefully great to see Alan King back in the winners' enclosure at Cheltenham.
I think Ash has actually
I just seen.
He looks like one of those Minecraft characters.
I'll go next anyway. Sorry, I think Edwardstone. It has to be ridden a certain way, and I think Energumene will turn the form around from the last day. And I think Editor the Geet is just a handicap. I think he'll struggle. So
Pete, fire away. Do you think Edwardstone is a good thing? I'm sorry, I can't get over what Ash looks like in that corner.
Frozen right away.
I don't know. Only because of the ground. I thought Edwardstone would have. I think Edwardstone would have the better of Energumene. But if the ground continues like this, if we end up with another like last Wednesday of the year before, then I think we could be in trouble. And then it would go back to him. But the stats are awful for Champion Chase. Like I think there's maybe 2 that have gone back to back in the last 20 years. And obviously they were like Ante, or not even Sprinter Sacre did it. Willie Mullins, it took him 20 years. He only broke his hoodoo last year. So I think he's got a much harder task than the price indicates at 7-4.
Johnny, you were keen. Johnny, sorry, Pete, carry on.
Yeah, sorry, just Flynn.
Yes.
Just what was that bonus code? One of the lads has messaged me saying what was the thing for so people can sign up?
Only 23. So if they use that promo code, but if they just hop on the trader chat once they've signed up, one of the boys in the office, as soon as they've had that pony bet on the Cheltenham Festival or any race, then they'll credit it straight away. So tell them to jump on the live chat, but it's only 23.
Okay, we'll get that wrote down on the Twitter as well. But Johnny, we'll go back to the Champion Chase. And you were a big fan of Energumene if the Clarence House was at Ascot, I believe. But then when it was actually rescheduled for Cheltenham, I don't think you were too keen. So listen, are you keen to get the faith back on Energumene, or do you think Edwardstone will reverse the form with Editor the Geet?
Look, all the year I would have fancied Energumene. I still kind of fancy him, but like the confidence is draining out of me by the day at the same time. You know, like he was 4-5 or even money 2 months ago. He's 2-1 now. So that tells you this. That tells you a story, doesn't it? Really. So look, I still think he might win. I do think it's probably between the two of them. I can't really see anything else winning this. I know fellas are giving it to the Geese and Gentlemen to me, and they're giving other horses little bits and pieces of chances. I think these two are miles ahead of the rest, and I think Einar Gameen will be ridden a lot, and I mean a lot more positively this time. I don't see him jumping up in the backs of horses on this occasion, and I could see him wrestling the lead 3 out, heading for the hills and letting your man catch him. I'd say he'll be ridden much the same as he was ridden maybe against Shishkin when Shishkin beat him in Ascot. He'll be going for home, and it'll take a Shishkin-like effort to come from behind him. And I don't think Edward Stone is a Shishkin-like horse. I'm going to go for you, man. Edward Stone is going to be ridden all wrong here anyway. I know fellas are saying he'll be ridden a bit closer. He'll still be only 4th at best anyway. He could even be 5th. And that, if he gives something decent like Einar Gameen first run, he'll struggle to catch him in my book.
I agree. I think if Einar Gameen turns the straight and he turns into the bend and he jumps the second last in front, I think there's only one winner there. I think even though Edward Stone showed that good turn of foot to get to Editor Jeet, he got to Editor Jeet like it's Editor Jeet to the end. I can't have him winning this champion chase at the end of the day. For me, I think he
couldn't even get by Dad's Lad in a handicap at the start of the season.
Yeah, listen, there's no doubt he's improved, but I don't think he's the level of these two in front.
He stole them last 2 races.
Emma, I don't believe you've actually had a say in this, so far away.
Yeah, I'm with Einar Gameen as well. I think if Paul got to ride the last race in Cheltenham again, he probably would have gone on an awful lot more. And that's gonna be a disadvantage to Edward Stone. I think if Paul takes on the running and makes plenty use of Einar Gameen, he'll have an awful lot to do if he's holding Edward Stone up, and it's not going to suit. I think Einar Gameen is probably more of a stayer than a real speed horse, so I think Paul will probably make plenty use of him, and I think he's probably the one to beat. I have respect for Edward Stone, but it's Einar Gameen for me. Gentleman, yeah, I mean, you have to say a bit of a shout if he shows up, but he could either pull up or he could be right up with the rest of them. It's hard to know him, so he's not really one that I could back personally. But Einar Gameen wins for me.
And one horse that has certainly won has a lad in the top corner who has since changed a Minecraft character, and now he's back. He's finally back. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, mate.
Just awful there. When Paul was talking, everyone just went blank on my screen. So I don't know whether I was talking over Paul there or something.
I thought it was me. I thought it was me. I don't know about anyone else. Yeah. I thought it was me.
Yeah, but no, I'm back. Thank you very much for taking over in the absence. Has everyone gone through the race?
Yes. You're not allowed to say for this race, so move on.
Edward Stone wins the lot. Champion bumper. We'll finish up with this one. We'll go strong fantasy on this race, and then we'll go into the final Wednesday races. Flynn, would you like to go through the betting for this one?
Yeah, a dream to share is got favouritism at the moment at 100-30. It's for me a 7-2. Fun is 13-2. Chapeau de Soleil is 8-1. Better Days Ahead 10. Facts to File 10. Western Diego 10, and then 12 bar.
Thank you very much, Flynn. A dream to share for myself. I was on in the last day. Willing to think that he can do it again today. I'll be with him and Bruno each way. And Canto Bruno will be my champion bumper plays. I think he's got a smashing chance at the prices. We'll go around, then we'll go back to Harry for the champion bumper. Are you a strong play in this or a leave?
Yeah, a dream to share. He was one of my only Fools of Horses naps. At 7-1, I thought that was a massive price for this horse. I think he's so talented. And listen, Patrick Mullins' comments was actually it was quite interesting because he described the horse. I think he was riding in the race that he got beat at the DRF, and he just described him as going past him like he was just nothing. And I think the horse that Patrick was on is a fair tool. So for me, I think that a dream to share. Well, JP clearly thinks the horse is talented, so I'm willing to take a chance. My only worry would be I think this horse is more of a speed horse. Now, if this rain kicks in, I do think that might be a little bit of a worry. However, a speed horse won the bumper last year in Facile Vega. There's no reason why this fella can't. So a dream to share for me. I think for the Gleasons, it'd be a massive win.
Yeah, it would be massive. And Lee, what will be your champion bumper horse?
I think Factor Fail will turn the form around with him. I really think that if it's played out different, Patrick Mullins afterwards said straight away, if he had he'd like to have another go on Factor Fail to get to him. That the boy wonder, he was away on a Dream to Share, and he kicked. Patrick come on the inside, and I think if it was a stamina race, Factor Fail will have a good chance. The more the rain comes, it's the better for him. So I think he'll turn the form around, to be fair. I think Queen's Gamel's been overlooked. I know she was beat the last day, but she's got the course form, and I think she's massively overpriced, but Factor Fail to turn the form around with a favourite.
Thank you. How about yourself, Pete? What do you like for the champion bumper?
Just with, obviously, I'm pretty much in Lee's camp, to be honest, but that a lot will be based on ground. I think if it comes up quick again, I think it's Dream to Shares again, because I just think exactly the same as Harry said, he's a fast horse. It looked a bit like a flat horse, just your standard, like non-national hunt, a flat season horse. And there's that DRF bumper is produced form of 1-2-2-1. So the winner coming from that, coming to the champion bumper, they've won 2 of them and they've come second in 2 of them. So it's a brilliant trial for it. I find it interesting that Factor Fail was the chosen one from Mullins. And I do think that he'll come on a chunk again. And if the ground's softer and it's more of a stamina test, I think it will suit him a lot better at a double figure price. So nothing I'm overly confident.
When Patrick Mullins was on the phone the other day at the preview, he says Chapter Soleil was going to be his bumper horse at the start of the season. He was adamant that was going to be his bumper horse. And he says there's Western Diego is not straightforward and he'll wear a hood. So he wasn't keen on him, but he did say that Chapter Soleil was going to be the best of these. Obviously,
I've not given up on him yet.
He's what?
I've not given up on him yet. I spoke to a guy who speaks to Joe Chambers a fair bit, and they've said he had a little bit. They went a little bit backwards, and then he's come forwards again since. But I think there's 33 left in the bumper at the moment, and obviously you can only have a max of 24. And because he's only had one run, he's rated a lot lower than some of the others. So obviously it's going to come down to what Mullins really decides to run. Because if he runs, say, only 4 or 5 of his and he decides that's one of them, there's a strong chance he'll still get in. Obviously, it's a big ask because we've got no idea where he's at with the horse. But every time you ask the Mullins camp, they've got such a strong opinion. But it's just whether he can put anything in on track after that woeful debut.
I spoke to someone at DRF, and I don't know how much this is worth, but they've been speaking to Rich Ritchie, and he said that he's quite bullish at the champion bumper with Chapeau de Soleil. Like, obviously, he's going to fancy his horse, but he said that he thinks he's got he's going to be backing him, I think, and he'd be quite sort of sweet on him. Johnny, anything for the bumper?
No, not really. No, I think it's starting to look a tricky race now to me. And bumpers are always hard races anyway. It's particularly the Cheltenham bumper is always a hard race. Like from my own experience making the book, just the one race you really wanted to go over there and have a whip off of anyway, really, you know. So the ground is going to make a big difference to Dream to Share. And what I notice about a lot of stuff that happens now in betting terms, the prices are not governed by judges or whatever. They're governed by algorithms, and the algorithms will come out in force against that favourite, guaranteed. That horse will be a big drifter, in my opinion, on the day. Now he's around 7 to 130. I could see that being 7, 8 to 1 on the day anyway. That horse, I feel he won't even be favoured. Dream to Share, particularly if the ground is slow, and you'll have these stats men that are saying that the young fellas should be claiming 7. He's not. John Kiley's about 95. He's never had a winner there. All that kind of stuff comes in. They put all those type of things into consideration when they're factoring.
Where do you lie with the stats? Where do you lie with these stats men, Johnny? Are you a stat man? Like all these people that wheel out these like 9 different stats for each horse?
No, I don't go to stats, but like these algorithm guys put their money down at the same time, and they do seem to know what they're doing, and so you'd have to respect that. But they do seem to seize on certain horses, like the likes of Honeysuckle, Apple's Jade was another one they always backed. And they'll be against another horse they'll be dead against. You watch it, that will be Marine National. And if that happens to run bad, Good Land will go off any price. So they back certain horses, and they're big time against fellas that have poor records in these places. So for that reason, I think a Dream to Share won't even be favoured in this race when the time will come. I don't know what will be favoured, but I have a feeling he won't. I wouldn't have bet the race in a million years. I'm not saying he can't win. He can win. The better the ground, the better his chance. He's a good horse, of course he is. But look, bumpers to me are always lotteries anyway, particularly this one.
It's a very interesting bumper, isn't it, Emma? It's plenty of horses. No real sort of standout. Have you got one for the bumper at all?
It's not really something I'd be backing massively. Obviously, A Dream to Share has a poem in the book. He beat a lot of the best Irish bumper horses, but I'm probably with Better Days Ahead. Probably a bit biased. We actually bred him here, so I'm probably a bit biased towards him that way. But I still think he has a good chance to place anyway. At least he'll like a strong pace, and he'll probably like it if it gets a bit softer as well. So I think he's around 10-1, around about that. I backed him kind of earlier on in the year for it, just for a bit of interest, really. But I think he should run a big race anyway. He should. I think Gordon thinks a fair bit of him. I think Jamie Codd's kind of nearly confirmed to ride him. So yeah, he should run a nice race, hopefully.
It should be very interesting as Flynn tries to sort out his lights in his room. Paul, final say on the bumper. What will we be lining with?
Yeah, not a race that I'll be having a bet in, but I do think the winner is going to come from either It's For Me, who was very impressive at Navan back in January, thought stayed on pretty strongly up the Navan Hill, and Fun, who is a good winner at the Dublin Racing Festival. I think the winner's between those. I'd agree kind of with what Johnny said. I think A Dream to Share will drift. I think Jockey Bookings is obviously going to be interesting. It's going to be very rough. There's going to be a lot of hard luck stories. No disrespect to the young Gleeson guy. I was very impressed with him at the Dublin Racing Festival on A Dream to Share, but it's Cheltenham. There's going to be a lot of senior riders down at the start. There's going to be a lot of argy-bargy down at the start. Someone is going to lose out, and I'd be afraid of that also. So Jockey Bookings is going to be crucial. Factoring all that in, all things considered, I think the winner is going to come from either It's For Me or Fun.
We'll stick with you, Paul. We'll go quickly through and very quickly through the cross country and the handicaps for the Wednesday. Anything you're strongly interested in for the other 3 races?
Not in the Johnny Henderson in the Grand Annual. The cross country race, again, not a race that I have a huge opinion on. Galvin, I'd be looking forward to seeing how he gets on. I think if he takes to the course and what have you, I think he could go well. Short enough, what price is around about 15 to 8. I wouldn't be getting involved at that price. In the big handicap hurdle, plenty of extra places in that 250 race. I'm interested in the John McConnell trained Seddon. He's won his last 2. He's been a bit of a revelation since he's joined John McConnell. Won his last 2, and I know Connection sidestepped the Dublin Racing Festival to keep him fresh for this, and they're pretty sweet. So I'd be interested to see how Seddon gets on. Around about the 25 to 1 mark, I think he could be worth a couple of quid each way.
Thank you very much. Emma, anything for the other 3 races?
Cross country, I wouldn't have much interest in it really. I suppose Delta Arkle will probably win it. For the Carl Cup, I think San Salvador for Joseph O'Brien has a fair chance in that if he gets into it. I think he needs a few to come out, but I think Joseph's a very good target trainer. I think he's been targeting this since he won a nice handicap hurdle in Punchestown a while back now, and I think he put him away for this one, so he should have a good chance. I think he's around 20 to 1, like, so if he got into it, he'd have a good each way chance anyway. And for the Grand Annual, then I think I'm not sure where Magic Days is going, but if she wins for this, I'd say she'd have to have a fair shout. She's in the Mayor's Chase as well, so I'm not sure which one she's going for. But she runs up with the pace, which will suit the race. She was good against Dino Blue last time, and she's just a mare who'll always kind of show her best, I think. So I think she'd be a bit of a bet in that if she showed up.
Thank you very much. Anything for the other 3 races, Flynn?
No, absolutely nothing.
Flynn, how bad would it be if Delta Work was to win the cross country?
How bad would it be?
Yeah, for you guys.
Not so bad at the moment. It completely depends on the ground. I mean, if it's soft ground, I think he'll be bank material, and I think the money will probably run up on him. But if it's not soft ground, I could really see him drifting, and I could see the money coming for Galvin. Obviously, there's a big hype around Galvin at the moment, around Gordon's comments, and obviously the quick ground suiting him as opposed to Delta Work. So I think if it's going to be soft ground, then I think it could be running up, but just have to wait and see what happens.
Be interesting. Johnny, anything for the other 3 races on the Wednesday?
I think Delta Works probably win if the ground is slow, and the Grand Annual, I'm looking, it's gone favoured now. That's the only problem. It's probably short enough, but I think Dino Blue is probably well in that. It's a good jumper, and I'd say it's probably been kept for this race after getting beat by Impervious and Mallow. And but the last race, the Carl Couple, I thought the front 3 in the market were strong there, but I'd say they all probably want nicer ground. And if it does get messy on the Wednesday, I won't be having a bet. The Carl Cup's a hard race anyway normally, but one for Oscar has a good chance, but he's pretty ground dependent. I wouldn't fancy him to ground went slow.
Yeah, the Coral Cup was an absolute mess last year. Only like 4 horses actually finishing within the first 30 seconds. Pete, anything for you?
Nothing strong, so no. And I've not got over the cross country from Tiger Roll last year, so I don't want to talk about
Neither's
it.
Ash. Have you seen the racing TV photo?
Yeah, I did. I saw it. Yeah.
If all of you have got 5 minutes, just go and search up Ash on racing TV. It's absolutely perfect. Michael O'Leary's having an interview, and all you see in the background is Mr. Simmons, a young 19-year-old journalism student, death staring the hell out of him, and it looks hilarious. Absolutely superb. Comedy gold.
I'll get it up on screen in the background. Harry, you've had me there 1-0. Anything for the other race on the Wednesday?
No, I'll agree with Johnny and Flynn. Listen, if the ground goes soft, I think Delta Work is definitely a play. If not, I think leave it. I think the Coral Cup, the Grand Annual, listen, one horse that should be running the Grand Annual that isn't is Orcam Risk. And listen, I feel sick that thing is not going. I think he'll win. So, listen, we'll get on to Orcam Risk in a bit. So I think it's move on to the Thursday. But I think you two have got selections, haven't you?
I've got a couple, but I'll go Lee next.
Camprond actually needs 3 to come out to get into the Coral Cup. I would like him, but like Johnny says, he's ground dependent. He's £2 lower than last season. He's kind of thrown in, but he is ground dependent. You'd like the better ground, so maybe he's watch and play on the day for him. But he is very well in. Probably my strongest handicap fancy if he goes here. Grey Diamond for Sam Thomas in the Grand Annual. 2 runs back, he ran third, beating 3 lengths behind Amarillo Sky and Fugitive. Amarillo Sky is about £15 higher now. He ran 4th, just beating 3 lengths behind Energamine in the Clarence House, and he had bolted up the time before at Newbury. The second Fugitive, he bolted up at Chepstow. He went and ran second to El Redondo, and they pulled miles clear, and he's about £13 higher. I think Grey Diamond's only been put up about £3. He come to win the race the last day at Sandown. He just knuckled and excitations. He went on to win the race at Sandown, but he's very well handicapped on his run. 2 runs back at Cheltenham. So Grey Diamond, I think he's around 20s or 25s for Sam Thomas, who's been in good form. Like I say, Campron's well in, but I do think Delta Wake will beat Galvin, and especially if there's juice in the ground. So Delta Wake for me.
Brilliant stuff. I've got a fancy for each of the races. I'm going to be taking on Delta with Galvin. Really like him. I'll be taking Galvin. Whatever it turns out, the softer ground won't be up to his liking too much, but I'll be with the Galvin camp. The Coral Cup, there's 3 in here. Beacon Edge is my main play, 14-1. I think he's quite well handicapped off a mark of 147. Rian for Gordon Elliott. Now, they're saying they're going to the Martin Pipe potentially with this. It's also been sort of like confirmed for the Coral Cup. Runs in presenting Percy's colours. So wherever that horse goes, I'll be quite interested in. And the Very Man for Jessica Harrington. I think the Very Man's quite well handicapped on old form. Quite a classy horse. Won the Up the Challenge race for stable staff at Leopardstown, I think, recently, or Punchestown, one of the two. It might even be fair. In Ireland, one of those tracks in Ireland. Won that.
You've gone for every track, haven't you, this race?
Yeah, Emma's just looking at him like.
I can't even remember, but it was one of them, and I think he's good. And for the Grand Annual, I have some interesting ones. Wherever Call Me Lyrene turns up, it could be here or in the plate. I'm quite interested by Call Me Lyrene. I think he could be quite a nice horse. Same for Midnight Run. I think Emma will share similar comments on Midnight Run, Grand Annual or plate. You don't know which way, so what? I'm
going to limit you to 5 horses in this race.
Yeah, that's fine. My main one's coming up. I think. Sorry,
that wasn't the main 5.
I can fill the place if you want. No, I really like sizing Potsy for this race. I really like sizing Potsy. Plenty of talking about horses like fast or slow, horses that have been running in graded company and be sort of coming down the handicap. This horse has been like plummeted down the handicap, like £15 below his best over fences. His Irish former Jessica Harrington's fantastic. He was actually he ran a fair race behind Tamuras at the start of the season over hurdles. So I think sizing Potsy could go very well. It was actually travelling very well in the Clarence House, but it was just too good a grade for him. So I think sizing Potsy will have a chance in the Grand Annual. Anyway, we'll go on to the Turners, the Thursday. Absolute good thing in this race, and we'll get to him in good time. But Flynn, the pricing for the Turners.
Yeah, so this is where our boost comes for the Thursday as well. Mighty Potter, we've boosted to 13-8 from 5-4. So quite a nice little boost. on the favourite here. Then El Fabiola's in there at 2-1. Banbridge 100-30. Appreciate It 4-1. Sir Gerhard 6-1. Stage Star 9. And then 10-1 Bar.
Anything you
just
like?
out of curiosity, in
Go on,
Johnny's case, Flynn, how much can Johnny put on Mighty Potter at 13-8?
We'll have to see. I mean, we could get Johnny an account up. It'd be a nice little mark account for us. We can move the price after he's on early.
We'll go.
How much could they have on? Genuinely, Don, roughly.
How much?
You want, Johnny?
Yeah.
However much you want.
How much would you want?
I'll have 2 bets if you're interested, but I don't want to put you on in the spot at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
No, go on. What do you want?
I'll have 16 grand on him and the same on El Fabiolo, 15-8 and 13-8. And I'll give you the money on Tuesday before racing.
Go on, Johnny.
You're not going to get those bets on at boost prices, Johnny. And I think
okay, it's up to yourself. Whatever suits you. That's why I didn't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I think you're very unlikely, but I'll talk to you after, and then we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, okay.
We'll talk.
He was thinking like a couple £100.
I thought you might have called a 13,008 or something. We're not 16 grand.
Well, I'll take any part of them bets if you want to. You can make it 1,600 if you want. I don't mind.
Okay.
We'll
definitely do you a bet or two. Definitely.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'll get someone to bring you the money on. I won't have the money myself, but I'll get someone to bring the cash to you before at 11 o'clock on Tuesday.
Let's give me some deals done. I'm liking it. So Johnny, I can tell you're a Mighty Potter fan then.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think he's the better than me. And I fancy him more than El Fabiola, but I'll have the same on both of them probably. But yeah, I think Mighty Potter will win. I do. I think he's different class, and the ground is going to be this. Like it's not going to be good ground now, and that'll probably knock out Banbridge if it's anyway slow. And I think he'll just beat Appreciated. I think barring accidents he'll win, and I think he's good odds at 13-8. I wouldn't be backing him if I didn't think so.
Yeah, no, he's definitely good. Flynn, will you take a bet from me from my university stakes of £1.60? Will you take a bet around that? I hope so. Anyway,
I think that. I mean, in all seriously, we obviously will do Johnny a bet for that, but yeah, just at those prices for boost prices, we're probably.
Yeah, I understand. There's no problem. There's no problem.
Just in terms of the race for me, I just think the one horse that might be slightly overlooked is Stage Star. Look, I know that Paul Nicholls' horses probably aren't going to get a huge amount of love here, but I'm going to give it a bit of love because I thought he was really impressive the last day, and he beat a horse that's very well fancied for the plate now, and that's the right Gino, rated 145. Did it with his head in his chest, and I just thought it was a really good run. I can see that Harry's still smiling towards the top of the screen.
It proper made me crack like this. I didn't expect Johnny to come out with 16 Gs. I did not expect. But no, superb. I think. Well, Flynn, I think you'd be watching the telly behind the couch if Johnny got 16 grand on Mighty Potter.
Not that big bets for those guys at all.
I think Johnny knows that if I laid 16 grand over a Zoom call on a 13-8 it's 248 to lay. I think Ben Keith might hoist me out of his office right now.
Oh dearie me. Mighty Potter then is quite confident around the table. I think Emma, are you a Mighty Potter fan?
Yeah, I'm with Mighty Potter as well. Probably even more confident now, I'd say, after hearing that. But, no, I think Banbridge is a bit of a danger if the ground is nice, because he does love the hill in Cheltenham. He was brilliant there in November meeting, good there winning the Martin Bike last year. He flies up the hill, and Mighty Potter didn't perform there last year for whatever reason. Look, he looks more mature horse this year, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. If the ground was a bit nicer, if they don't get all the rain that they're talking about now, I would think Banbridge will give him a good race. But I'm with Mighty Potter to win it, I think.
Yeah, Mighty Potter as well for me. Better than meeting. This will be my most fancy.
This will be 16 grand for Ash.
You think I have that money? No, people that have sort of followed me long enough know how much I like this horse, and since when I've liked this horse. So I'm all over him. And Paul, would you be all over Mighty Potter as well?
No, I'm going to have to stick with Banbridge. Banbridge is a horse that's done me a couple of good turns in the past. I know there's a chance that the ground might come up on the slow side, but I've already done a little piece for work, and I've stuck with Banbridge, after which I did watch a couple of the reruns of Mighty Potter's last few races. but I'd already written my piece at that point. So I'm sticking to my guns with Banbridge, and yeah, it'd be interesting. I think apart from Flynn, I think there could be a couple of others looking for somebody walking around with possible 16 grand right about Cheltenham at 11 o'clock on Tuesday morning.
Well, I think you could be one of the people against Mighty Potter, because Pete, are you a Mighty Potter fan as well?
Yeah, massive fan. Enough of the festival. I just think you look at it reminds me of, like, obviously it's nothing like the Allaho, but it's that sort of confidence you get from a lot of people. I don't understand. There's a lot of good judges as well that are very strong on Banbridge. Like, they can see the way it's turned around. But I've heard some really far-fetched sort of ideas about, like, how Banbridge ran a faster last final circuit than what Mighty Potter did at the DRF. And then they were like, yeah, but obviously it was 5 furlongs further. It's like, yeah. But you're like, well, obviously he jumped in halfway. He's going to be nowhere near the same. So I can't see it myself. 18 lengths. I thought that was by far the Drimmore for me is the best race that we've seen over 2 mile 4. And I thought at the time, the horse that won that would be, so regardless of the DRF, I just thought he looked a class apart. I know many have got issues on the ground and stuff. The only concern I could have would be, obviously he flopped last year, but a lot of Gordon Elliott's didn't run their races last year. And the rumour was that because obviously it was his comeback, they put a lot of extra work in, didn't miss a day. And they went all out to get them all 120%. And a few seemed to go the opposite way. And then they bounced back. But this year it seems none of the like. And he's improved at least a stone for fences. And I just can't see it. Like, I appreciate it. He just looks too old and slow. You could see if he just magically does this, and Banbridge, I don't know where he's getting those 18 lengths from. And obviously the ground's getting softer now, not faster. So yeah, it just increases the confidence.
Yeah, I think, I would agree with those comments. And I'm going to go to Lee and Harry together. I want, on the count of 3, a yes or no for Mighty Potter. So 3, 2, 1.
Yes.
There we go. Lovely stuff. We're all it's all of us against Paul. I wish you the best of luck, Paul, in this battle. I really, really do.
Well, he doesn't mean it.
I will come back to you, Paul, for the Ryanair, but I'll go to Flynn first quickly for the prices. Obviously, Shishkin quite strong at the top of the market, I assume.
Yep, Shishkin's in there at 4-6, Blue Law 4-1, Conflated 5-1, Janadil 11-2, Fury Road 6-1, and then we're 10 bar.
Are you a Shishkin fan, Flynn?
Not particularly. I think if I can lay 4-6 with my bookmaker head on about any horse that has the kind of option to bounce a little bit, we'll definitely try and do that. So I think that we'll try and get him in the hod come the Thursday. I actually like Fury Road. I just thought the test round Cheltenham 2.5 miles or 2 mile 5 just might suit him down to the ground, really. But I think we definitely have to try and lay Shishkin, just because I don't think you can trust him 100%, even though he won the last day. I thought that he beat the right horse in Pick Dorhey as well in that race. But I just think that if he's 4-6 and he has his frailties and vulnerabilities, then we have to take him on.
Brilliant stuff. Johnny's just going to have to get a charger. Paul, then, we'll come to you then for the Ryanair. Shishkin, obviously, he's now this odds-on horse from winning one race this season, having been a little bit poor beforehand. And would you see their scope to take on Shishkin at the prices?
Yeah, there is. I wouldn't be backing him at the prices, but I do think he's the probable winner. Like, I would struggle to make a case for the majority of the remainder of the field, I'd love to see him win it. He was my banker of the festival back when he won the Supreme. It was great to see him back to form last time out, and I do think he is the probable winner, but I wouldn't be backing him at odds on.
Are you going to be opposing him at all, or are you just going to sort of a bit of a watching race?
A watching race for me.
Yeah. It might be that. I think this might be quite the same for a few in here, but we'll go Lee next on Shishkin. What do you make of his chance for the Ryanair?
I'll keep it short and sweet. I think Shishkin's definitely the best in this race. But at them prices, I'll probably take a forecast. I think Janadil may finish second. I think he was fat as a pig the last day, and he still managed to win. He beat Arkle, who was, touted for this as well. But I think Shishkin's definitely the best in, but 4-6 is too skinny for me. So I'll take the forecast with Janadil second.
Thank you very much. I'm with Janadil as well. I'm fairly with Janadil. I think he'll step up to this. He's been running into Allaho countless times in the last couple of seasons. I think he could be Very, very good here. May not be good enough to beat Shishkin, but I will be backing Janadil. Harry, yourself, are you in the Shishkin? You are in the Shishkin camp, aren't you?
I am in the Shishkin camp.
Now he is.
No price to be going in. No price to be going in right now though. 4 to 5. Listen, if you're playing a forecast, I really like Fury Road as a horse. Gordon Elliott has said this horse is probably one of the best workhorses that he's ever had, and I just think that he's now starting to come of age where he kind of. I know he's a 9-year-old, but he's now running some really, really good races. He looked to be serving it up to Galopin in the Irish Gold Cup. Now, listen, he got nowhere near him, but I think this drop down in trip slightly in this trip, 2 mile 4, I think will be right up his street.
Harry, do you know what's the biggest confidence for me is that you've tipped up Blue Lord at the start of the season. You've got Shishkin and Antipos double, and now you've got Fury Road. So that means that Janadil's going to win. Fantastic.
Tell him, Ash, get him.
Ash, you've had the real whacker in. Listen, don't even start with God.
You know what I like, Ash? I like the fact that Johnny's now against Flynn there at the bottom. There's 16 grand head there at the bottom. Look at that.
Toe at the bottom.
Short and sweet. Shishkin wins, Ash, for me.
Thank you. Emma, what would you be liking for the Ryanair?
I'd be happy enough to take Shishkin on at the odds. To be fair, if he shows up in his top form, he'll probably win. But it's a bit of a risk to take as well. He's had loads of problems. What he'll do on the day, it's kind of a bit of a guessing game at that kind of price. I couldn't be backing him. So I'm with Fury Road. I think he has a real chance. He was third in a very good Albert Bartlett a few years ago, and he went staying hurdling then for some reason. I'm not sure why, but Novice Chasing then last year, and I think his form this year is good. He won a good Grade 2 chase up and down Royal, beat a good mare of Dermot McLaughlin's, giving her a lot of weight. And I thought he's won behind Galopin des Champs at the Dublin Racing Festival was very, very good as well. He was the only upside to him coming to the last. So I'd say at around 8 to 1, he's a great each way, but I'd say he'll be right up in the mix anyway.
Yeah, I think plenty of people here taking on Shishkin. Pete, are you one of them?
I don't really know. I haven't took him on. I've backed him at 6 to 4, but I just think it's quite simple. You're either for him or you're not. Like, you look at all his figures, and like his last time out figure was a 178, which Allaho's ran 179 the last 2 times. To win the Ryanair, you need a 170 plus normally, and there's only 2 horses that have ran that. That's Blue Lord, obviously at Christmas when beat Shotgun, and then Shishkin's ran it obviously plenty of times. So I think you're basically playing the fact that you are, for a bookmaker, it's perfect. They can play the lay side, and for a punter, you are taking a risk. I don't know which way he's going to go. He could end up being 4 to 7 or even 1 to 2 on the day, or he could end up being close to evens. But I think he runs his race more often than not. I think Henderson knows how he's got him. I wasn't a massive fan of Nico really like getting into him, like just saying, I know you're back now, so like let's push it home, because once he went past, he was well and truly clear, and he beat the right horse there. But you obviously, your concern is always, has he left it on the track last time? Whereas coming into this race, he would have won this race, but people wouldn't have known it, obviously, because he didn't have the form to back it up. So I'd rather be with him against him, and you take him out, and I think it's much of a muchness. I think it's fair game to any of them. Plenty of them are just handicapped. Well, I don't want to disregard horses, but horses like Garlaw and French Dynamite, they're great horses, but they're like 150 rated handicappers. So, yeah, I think he wins, and I hope he turns up.
Johnny, we'll go final say to you on the Ryanair. Are you with or against Shishkin for this race?
Look, I opposed him in Ascot. I'd be fairly slow about opposing him again. I think you're betting on him whether he won't fall asunder like the next day. Look, if he reproduces that run, he'll definitely win, because as one of the guys there said, that the rest of them are much of a muchness. And I won't back him at the same time, because I've seen horses like this before that a bit like Masterminded could put up a really super run and then not be able to back it up. So. Look, it's a race I'll probably watch. I was actually, like a few for you there, fencing Fury Road, giving that a bit of a chance if I had to pick one outside of the favourite. But I was at a few previews, and all these guys from the yard, none of them give it a prayer. I couldn't get over that. Like Russell doesn't give it no chance. If Dennis O'Regan doesn't fancy it. Elliott, I heard him say, I was on one with him last night, and he said something about Conflated, and he said Conflated has a chance in the Gold Cup because he would have been second last year or something, and Fury Road is in this race, and he's a stone better than Fury Road, he reckoned, anyway. So if Conflated is a stone better than Fury Road no chance of doing anything in my book, anyway. So for that reason, I can't back him. Listen to these guys, so I'm going to leave the race off now. I'll just watch it. I think I'm not going to have a bet either way in this race.
It's definitely a very interesting race, and if the best Shishkin turns up, I'm sure he'll be very hard to beat. We'll go on then to the final Grade 1 of the Thursday, the Stayers Hurdle. Flynn, it's quite a competitive race. This in the sort of top of the market. What's the market with you saying?
Yeah, very, very competitive. Blazing Cow's your 5-2 favourite. Obviously, some doubts around Blazing Cow's participation. Marie's Rock 130. Tahupu is 4-1. Home by the Lee 5-1. Flooring Porter 11-2. Classical Dream 9-1, and then your 10-1 bar.
Have you got anything for this yourself, or is
I think for me, when I'm talking about Marie's Rock for the Mares Hurdle, just exactly the same thing for this. Really, this would be far more competitive. The fact that she's 130 for this, and then she's 3-1 for the Mares. I'd rather bet her in the Mares at 3-1 than 130 for this. But I still think that she'll run through the line at 3 miles here, and also it depends on whether Blazing Cow's going to turn up. I mean, we've been turned over by this horse at Cheltenham quite a few times. I remember I think it won at the October meeting last year and maybe the November meeting as well. And we will end it on track to some fairly shrewd connections without mentioning any names. And we were doing our money on the Blazing Cow. So I'm kind of hoping it doesn't turn up and then we don't have that same situation next week when we're betting on the track. But I think Marie's Rock would be the one for me of the bunch, but it's a very competitive heat.
It's very competitive. It's a big talking race, but I'm going to try and nail you all down to one fancy for the race on time-wise. And I know that someone who's a big fan of Blazing Carl is Emma. So take it away with the Blazing Carl.
Yeah, no, a big fan of Blazing Carl. He's got the track form. The bit of a worry, like the vibes about him, I suppose. But it's kind of hard to know, really. Because he needs a bit of a cut. But look, if he gets there in good nick, I think he'll win it. I thought he was very, very impressive winning the Boyne last time. I thought he won it as he liked. Don't think the jockey is a takeaway, is a minus to him, I suppose. I think Philip's a very, very good rider. I suppose, look, he can claim in this, so I suppose technically he is, but he's a very cool rider, so I don't think the occasion will get to him. I think if he gets there in top form, he'll win this.
Yeah, Johnny, strongest fancy for the Stayers?
Yeah, Home by the Lee I'm going to go for. Look, I think there's only 4 possibilities. Blazing Carl, Home by the Lee, Tuhupo, and what's the last? Oh, Marie's Rock if she turns up. Blazing Carl, who knows whether that's going to run or not. Even if it does run, is it going to be fully effective? Tuhupo is fairly ground dependent. He may not get it quite as soft as he wants. Home by the Lee is a solid horse. I think he's very solid each way, but he's the one horse I think he's like. If you had to have an each way bet the meeting, he's my one anyway, because I don't see 3 horses beating him. I can definitely see him now winning because the other 3 horses that I mentioned could easily beat him. But I don't see the 3 of them beating him, and the 3 of them mightn't even run in the race anyway against him. So, look, for me, he's a rock solid each way, and there is good talk of him too. His work is supposed to be excellent. So, look, I think he's a very solid horse, and I think he'll go close. He may not win, but I think he's a great each way bet at the same time.
Yeah, it's a really, really competitive race. There's plenty of cases to be made for plenty of horses. Paul, where would you be siding with for the Stayers?
Like Tuhupo, I know he's a horse that connections really think an awful lot of, as does Robbie Power included. I think Robbie said that he'd be one horse that he would be really looking forward to if he was still riding. He was a good winner of his last 2 races, winner of the Hatton's race and the Galmoy, and yeah, the softer the better. And yeah, I think Tuhupo, price reflects, ought to be thereabouts.
I am with you on Tuhupo. I think he's definitely a very, very good horse. I'd even go, yeah, he's definitely the most likely winner in my books. I think he's absolutely a brilliant horse. And Pete, the one horse for you in the Stayers?
Blazing Cow. I just think last year, as Emma said, I think the course form is pretty important, especially when you're looking at 3 miles. The beating of Gelino Bello, obviously he won the Sefton. He hasn't looked very good this year. But that was a massive comeback in the Boyne. My only concern would be, was it too big a comeback? He beat Home by the Lee that day, who was obviously was it Home by the Lee? Sorry, Meet and Greet that day, who finished behind Home by the Lee. But he was giving Meet and Greet £5 for 3 lengths, whereas Home by the Lee beat him the same distance, 3 lengths, but wasn't giving him the weight. So there's not going to be a lot in it between them. But it's just the way he travelled, he jumped. He clattered a few last year in each of his runs at Cheltenham. bounced back on the bridle and still one going away, whereas there was none of that this time. I just, much like Shishkin, it was like one of those performances. If he'd brought that to Cheltenham, I think he would have been very hard to beat. So obviously there's plenty of question marks about his participation, but there's also a lot of rumours about Charles Burns having a fairly large bet on it himself. So I'd be fairly confident that he still turns up despite the rumours.
We'll go then to Lee next for the stayers.
Look, if you knew Blazing Cal was fully fit, he'd definitely be the one. But I highly doubt Charlie B will be talking to the press and telling them everything. That's for sure. So I think he's definitely the one I'd have a save on. But I have backed Florian Porter each way. I think he's a solid horse. They says he had a bit niggle, but that was weeks ago now. Gavin Cromwell's in good form and he's a dual winner. So each way him, but I definitely think Blazing Cal's a strong chance.
It's very interesting. Harry, final say?
I agree with Johnny. I think Home by the Lee has a massive chance in this. As Johnny mentioned, it looks a cracking each way bet. I mean, if you are into the 5-1 pluses, because you can't see three horses being in front of him after what he's shown this season. One I will give at a massive price is the Old Boy. It is Paisley Park. Listen, I have a love affair with this horse, so if I didn't mention him, then it'd be rude not to.
He's older than you.
Yeah,
he looks older anyway.
Looks not far off, is it? Listen, Paisley, he's done by the French horse. Who, Johnny, what's your thoughts on the French horses, John?
The French horse is no hope. None whatsoever.
Is he classified as a Millen?
I wouldn't think. You couldn't classify him. You just couldn't classify the price he should be anyway. I wouldn't fancy him even in the
He's
first
not even on the
6 or 7.
exchanges,
That
but
couldn't
no.
possibly be my opinion.
No,
he'd be way over the 1,000 anyway. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Right, lovely stuff. Stayers covered there. I think we've all had our opinion on that. I give Asterion Forlonge a massive shout at 40-1 as well. If he comes back, this sort of like they've always sort of like gone stairs with this horse for this season. Never been entered anywhere else. Never even talked about anything else. If he's back, I'll stick with him as well. Right, I'm going to go to the Mayor's Novice Hurdle. For time wise, I'm going to ask you all for your opinions on this race, and then if you have anything else for the other 3 races that we haven't discussed. So we'll do it all in one, but we'll go Flynn first of all for all that. So prices on the Mayor's Novice Hurdle, and then just your final thoughts on this race and the rest of Thursday.
Yeah, so Mayor's Novice Hurdle, Lucia is 6-4, Ashrow Diamond 130, Loss of Joy 13-2, Night and Day 13-2, Liberty Dance 8, You Wear It Well 8, and then 10 Bar. Not a huge amount for me to say on this one, to be honest, because I just think Lucia's an absolute certainty. Can't see a beat. I think she looks really, really classy. I don't think she'd be far away in a Supreme with the allowance. I just think that she's a good thing here, and not too much more to say from me. And I don't have anything else, so you can move on to whoever's next.
Perfect. We'll go to Lee next for the Mayor's Novice, and just your other handicap bets the rest of the day.
I love Magical Zoe in this each way. For Henry de Bromhead, obviously the race is named after his son, and I'd love him to win the race, but I do think she's got solid form. She hasn't been seen since Down Royal in November, but the form in behind's cracking. She beat Nick Keeney of Willie Mullins. There's plenty of form lines like Harmonia Maker, the other horse, the Model Kingdom as well. There's strong form lines in behind. It's just we haven't seen her, so that's why she's probably as big as 10s. So she's solid each way. I do like Stumstown. I think he bolted up at Sandown. He had to win the race to get in, but he jumped like a buck. He'll win the Kimura, and so Scottish, I think, it's well in. He's at the top of the market, but I think he'll take the plate for Shrewd Connections. They won it with a shunter. They'll win this.
Harry, yourself, Mayor's Novice Hurdle and Thursday handicaps. Go for it.
Oh, I've tried to get Lucia B, but I can't. I think she is close to being a good thing on the Thursday as anything in on that day. I just think she's so good. Like Nika de Boinville, I think can just keep her so sensible. If he isn't happy with the way the race unfolding, could take it up. And I think she is by far the best horse in the race. If I'm going for one in the plate, I'll give the Old Boy and last year's winner, Cool Cody, a massive shout. He is around. Flynn, what price is Cool Cody for the plate?
That's a very good question. Bear with
Million.
me.
Could take a while.
You've got to scroll down on the
scrolling.
Keep scrolling. But listen, he's absolutely loves it. His course record is ridiculously good, and if he goes down the hill and he's in with some sort of contention, I think he's a pound below his mark last year, or a couple of pounds below. I think he's got a massive chance in
25 to 1.
25. So a little bit of money, because he was 40s actually. He was 40s a couple of weeks ago. So
he might be called
that big move from 40 to 25.
Keeping him on side, Harry.
There you go.
Can you give me 16 grand at 25?
We'll go Paul next for the Mayor's Novice and Thursday Handicaps.
Yeah, I think the lads covered it already. Lucia, as the price reflects, is the one they all have to beat. Obviously, I'd love to see Magical Zoe collect or certainly get in the frame. So at round about 9 to 1, wouldn't put anyone off having a small wager on Magical Zoe. Elsewhere on the card, wouldn't have a strong fancy in the plate. But in the Pertham's final, a horse I quite like is Percival Legawat for Gavin Cromwell. It was fourth over the Christmas period under Conor Maxwell. Mark Walsh had taken a bad fall earlier on in the card. He had a couple of bad falls, I think, throughout the day, or over that period. But Conor was on board, finished 4 to 27, then came out last time out at the Dublin Racing Festival and was a good winner, and I think can go close again for Gavin Cromwell. That's Percival Legawat in the Pertham's final. And in the finale, the amateur race, I would have to say, if the ground comes up softer the better, I'd be with Rapper in that race for Henry Daly, course and distance winner. And keep an eye on jockey bookings again. I know Johnny wasn't a huge fan of the UK riders, but Will Biddick is as good as any professional as well. I have to give him a shout. If you haven't watched Will ride, he's worth going back and watching a couple of reruns.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Paul. Johnny, I'll go to you then for the Mayor's Novice Hurdle and any other Thursday interests you might have in the handicaps.
The Mayor's Novice Hurdle, I'd be... Anybody hear anything bad about Luciano?
I haven't heard anything about it, I don't think, no.
Yeah, there's...
Icy put something out, didn't he? Icy put something out saying she was out of the race, and I think the racing TV presenter actually...
That had Tom Stanley. Tom Stanley
yeah,
went
Tom
on
Stanley
TV and said it, and he had to go back at it,
Yeah, I have a bit of negative word for it, but it mightn't be right. You always hear these kind of stories this time of year. I was just... Another thing there... Look, I don't fancy her anyway, to be honest. I think she's quite short, and I think it's quite a deep race too. And she's got a £5 penalty, which I'd say, like, most people when they look at it don't even know it, consider that when they're having a bet. You know what I mean? So £5 is a dirty penalty for a mare. And this race has been won by some funny horses like the likes of Concert Cheese, and there was Yokes won here at 50 to 1 and all that kind of stuff. I think it's a lot more open than people think. And like some of her form is dubious enough. I mean, okay, I think people read too much into the fact that she won a listed hurdle the first day when it was only a glorified maiden hurdle, really. You know what I mean? There was nothing in that race. And the last day she knocked down hurdles and everything, and then she beat a load of scrubbers as well. It's like another thing against her, it's like she's very brittle. I read somewhere they're putting her in foal and all this kind of stuff. So she must have they must reckon she has a limited lifespan anyway, racing wise anyway. For that reason, I'd leave her alone. I'd had a lot of joy and a good chance. But again, it was like 16. It's now into about 7 or 8 to 1. It's not great, any great value now. I suppose Astro Diamond is a chance. Look, I'd be looking for, if you were making a book in this, you'd be betting for a result. Does anybody know if Mark Walsh is riding at the meeting? I was under the impression that he wasn't riding. Yet I see he's chopped up. He's back, is he?
Yeah.
And is he going to be riding these horses, McManus horses, the Irish horses?
I presume so. He's booked on Endo for the Gold Cup anyway. So I think I think he got the go ahead from the doctors anyway. So yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because I saw him it jocked up to riding at the weekend in Ireland anyway for Saturday. So he's going to be riding. He's going to be riding in Cheltenham. So because I heard somebody saying the other night that he was missing the ride on some McManus. So maybe he's riding them. So not that it makes any difference anyway. But look, I'd be probably against Lucia. And in the other races, Shoot First will be hard to beat, but it's short price too. And Stumptown will be hard to beat, but it's short. And what's the last race? That's it, is it?
There's
the play that was given a horse called That's All Right, Gino, a chance, but only for a token bet at the same time.
Thank you very much, Johnny. Emma, we'll go over to you for the same question. Mayor's Novice Hurdle, and then on the free handicaps for the Thursday.
Yeah, I think Lucia is plenty short. Like, I wouldn't be saying she's any kind of banker. I think it's a very deep race. Like, I think the form of the Irish mares have is very strong coming into it. So she's probably short enough at that price. I wouldn't be backing her. Look, Astro Diamond's form is rock solid. In fairness, she's shown herself well against the best of the geldings in Ireland. Thought she might have been a bit more impressive in the Salarina last time, though. So I wouldn't be fully in her camp. I think Lotta Joy is probably my fancy at the moment. Look, she's very impressive on the flat. I think her first run for Willie was in the big QR handicap in Galway, which would show you what Willie thought of her, I suppose. And, she was very good third in the Cesarewitch as well. So she was beaten by a good horse, Gavin Cromwell's first time out. I know the way you're thinking, but I don't think that's any kind of slate in her. So I give her a big chance. But she'd probably want the ground to be a bit nicer. If it got very soft, it mightn't suit her. The rest of the day, then the plate, I'd give Kilcut a bit of a chance if he showed up in it. I'm not sure if that's where he's going to go or if he'll go for the turners, but I don't think the handicapper has been too hard on him. He's only gone up a pound on his Irish mark, and he's good course form, I suppose. Well, he was a long way behind Constitution Hill last time, and but he was second in the bumper a few years ago, so I give him a bit of a squeak if he showed up there. He's a good jumper, and I think Midnight Run in the plate as well has a bit of a chance for Joseph O'Brien. He won a Grade 2 chase there last year, and he's still a novice, a 9-year-old, but I think he probably has a bit up his sleeve still. Outside of that, now I think Charles's horse in the Pertemps obviously has a massive chance, 4-1, but he's probably been put away for the race since he won at Cheltenham last time. I think he'll be very hard to beat, and in the last race, the big amateur race, I don't really fancy anything too strongly, to be honest. Mr. Incredible has a chance, I suppose, but he's got plenty of weight as well.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Emma. And Pete, final word then for the Thursday races.
I've made no secret about how much I like Lucia. I'm a big fan. She's already ran numbers that would win the Mayor's Novice just on her last run alone. I know she's beaten nothing. It's one of those, you just trust the visuals. That Henderson ran in 2019. Henderson ran Epitaph in this race, sent off 15-8, finished 9th. But then come March the year after, she won the Champion Hurdle. So it could be one of those. She'll turn out to be the best horse, but this could come too soon with plenty of the Irish unexposed runners. But I think at 6-4, yeah, she's short enough. But I can see what Johnny was saying about a little bit of question marks, because I did look last night and she was around 9-4 on the exchanges, which I couldn't really understand because she was taken out of the Supreme, which meant it was obvious she was only going to one race. So unless they have got some sort of issue. But, for me, I think she's above these. But at the same time, it's like betting in a bumper. Like most of the Irish runners, they've had 1 or 2 runs. So there's a lot of guesswork. And of the rest of the day, you're looking through, and I don't know how if Flynn's looked through this as well, but I think Thursday is going to be the day that will make or break the punter, because you look through, you've got Mighty Potter, Shishkin, either Blazing Cal or Tiapu are probably going to be around 3-1 each apiece. Lucia, then Stumptown's probably going to go off very short. So Scottish will go off short and shoot first. And there's a lot of people with a lot of confidence behind all of those. So you could easily see that people are going to have all sorts of accumulators, and it's going to be one of those days it's going to make or break the punter. So it's going to be quite interesting.
I think if Blazing Cow makes it, then we'll probably see a fair few shoot first Blazing Cow doubles, Charles Burns across the card. But typically we'd normally get this on the Tuesday, which is obviously very well publicised. But it'll be a nice change actually coming on the Thursday, because normally we walk out of the Tuesday, we've done our money, and then we're just trying to draw it back for the rest of the week. But it will be nice it being the other way around potentially this year.
Yeah, the Tuesday looks quite tough. There's quite a few coin tosses on the Tuesday.
It'll definitely be interesting to see what the money says for the races on the Thursday. For mine, I'd say I'd give where are we now? Astro Diamond is my horse for the Mayor's Novice. Been on my radar for a while, and You Wear It Well for Jamie Snowden is a horse that Jamie likes. So she has to go with a big chance, and the big price. That's not my selection for it, and a big price, Belle the Lioness. I'm still with for Henry de Bromhead. I think she's got a really good chance of 33s. She won the last day. It wasn't maybe amazing, but I think she won. She had nothing against. She had everything against her. Sorry, the last day. I think she's done it quite well. For the rest, per Thames, I give Steeler March for Nicky Henson a good shout. He seems to have a fair bit of confidence about the King's Runner in the per Thames, so I give him a chance. The plates, depending on what horses run, if Midnight Run goes and if Call Me Lyrene goes, there would be my plays. But apart from that, I have nothing. And in the Kim Muir, I'm with Mr. Incredible. Superb. Let's keep it going on to the final day, Gold Cup day. We'll start with the Triumph, and we'll go to Flynn first of all for the Triumph Hurdle. What are your fans? What's the betting setting?
So we're 7-4 each of 2 at the front of the market. Blood Destiny and Lossy Mouth. Gala Marco is 9-2, and then you're into double figures. Comfort Zone 10-1, Bo Zenith 11-1, and then your 16 bar. Look, I think with this race, it's just it's a bit of a toss-up between the front two, in my opinion. I don't really know how good Blood Destiny is. Obviously, visually very impressive, but again, how does the form stack up? Lossie Mouth, I do think that she'll turn the form around with Gala Marco, although some people have come out and said that she won't, but I think that she will. Just one of the big prizes has been completely forgotten because of the last run at Kempton is Scriptwriter. I'm not 100% sure whether Scriptwriter is going to actually make it after the kind of mystifying run the last day. But if Paddy could just sneak Scriptwriter into the race and just get there as late as possible, come through the back of runners, maybe nick the near side rail, then hopefully Scriptwriter will run into a place at a bigger price in a race that's a little bit muddling towards the head of the market, I think.
Brilliant stuff. We're going to have to fly through the Friday race a little bit for time-wise. So I'll go to Johnny first of all for the Triumph Hurdle. Where will you be siding with for the first race of the Friday?
Like they're betting roughly in and around 2 each of two. I'm making a match. I wouldn't be dogmatic either way. I wouldn't argue with anyone. I'll go with the exposed one over Lassie Mouth. Look, I could easily pick the wrong one, but I'd like a 2 each of two. And if I think it's a 2-horse race and getting the one in the 50-50, I'll bet all day. I'll take my chances and I'll go for Blood Destiny. I just think it might improve past Lassie Mouth, and I think it might be slightly stronger there, and it's probably going to be in front of the other one. And I like to be in races, 2-horse races. I like to be on the one in front rather than the one coming from the back.
It'll be very interesting to see how much Blood Destiny can improve. He's been improving very well, Emma. For the Triumph, what will you be siding with?
Yeah, I agree with Johnny. Blood Destiny for me. Backed him a while ago first. I thought he was very impressive in his first look. I suppose he got a kind of a free one last time, but even in Cork first time out, he beat a good horse that day in Sir Alan, who's going for the Boodles now. So I think he's very impressive, and you know the vibes from the Mullins camp are good. It'd be interesting to see who Paul rides, but I'll be on Blood Destiny either way anyway.
Thank you very much, Pete, for the Triumph.
I'll go the other way. I'd be on Lossie Mouth just because of price. I just think if you haven't had a bet in the race now, I know most people have got bigger prices on both of those two, but I think if you went to the race now, I think Lossie Mouth's got the better form. I think she was very unfortunate. Everyone saw that at the Dublin Race Festival. I'm not buying into the whole, like, as in that was a really, really hard ride and she might not recover from it. She gets the weight allowance. And I just think she's been racing against Triumph horses all year, whereas Blood Destiny's been racing against Boodle horses. You go back to their French form, and they both ran on the same card. Blood Destiny was actually, he was behind Bo Zenith, and Bo Zenith finished faster than Lossie Mouth, and they were all racing off levels that day. So there won't be a lot in it, but the vibes from the yard sound like Blood Destiny is improving a lot quicker, and there's got plenty. So. But I just think Lossie Mouth's got what you've seen so far, whereas I don't know what Blood Destiny's got.
Brilliant stuff, thank you. And Paul, Triumph Hurdle, where are you be siding with for the big juvenile Grade 1?
I'm with Lossie Mouth. Very unfortunate last time out. I thought for the first half mile, the stable companion Ballymore was just doing enough to piss her off. Like, Jesus Christ, there was one of the hurdles down the back, like. Danny Mullins, the head was nearly on top of Paul Townend, and then the other stable companion then come back in front of her. Paul's ended up then having to go 6 wide. He made a lot of ground up very quick. With the benefit of hindsight, he probably would have he would have been better off sitting in and wait for the gaps to open. He didn't. The cards he played, he went wide. He ended up going 6 wide while running uphill trying to make his ground. She used a lot of petrol up. She done well to get as competitive as she did. She ran a cracker, and I think with a more straightforward passage here, I think Lossie Mouth will take the beating.
I am in complete agreement with you, Paul. You've summed it up perfectly for me there. I think Paul Townsend had to make a choice on where he goes on the inside, wait for a gap, make his own move, go outside, try sort of like force something there. In hindsight, it potentially maybe chose the wrong one there, but that's the benefit of hindsight for that one. And I think Lossie Mouth is will definitely. I think I'm quite confident on Lossie Mouth now for this race. Lee, what would you be in the camp for the Triumph?
Same as the lads, and same as Pete said. Lossie Mouth had the graded form, whereas Blood Destiny, they didn't even want to get near that horse the last day. They wanted a bit Boodles mark, and for me, I'd go with the graded form. She should turn it around, and it's open once you come off that bend. there's a long kick and there's plenty of ways to go. It's an open field, so you can just hit the rail, or you can come round. So there'll not be traffic problems there, I would have said. So Lossiemouth for me.
Brilliant stuff. And Harry for the Triumph. Go ahead.
Yeah, Richie doesn't seem to have that many well-fancied horses, barring obviously Allegora Devassi in the Mayor's Chase, but he seems to always own the winner. Obviously, Vauban won the race last year for the same connections. I think Lossiemouth is classy. I think she really is. I think we learned a lot more about her in defeat last time out than we would have done if she'd have hacked around on the bridle. Listen, I think if you're saying that Gala Marceau will uphold the form, I think you're a brave person, because I think Lossiemouth is miles clear on these terms. I just think she is. She gets weight off Blood Destiny. Blood Destiny could be anything, absolutely anything. I mean, the horse has won by 18 lengths on his last. But then again, has the horse really had a race? I think Lossiemouth has. I think she'll be a little bit more battle hardened, and I think she will. I think she'll win.
Brilliant stuff. We'll go on to the Albert Bartlett then, everyone. Strong fancies for this race. It's quite an open race, and we'll go to Flynn first for the betting, because Corbett's Cross now the favourite after a recent win over 2 miles. A bit of uncertainty whether he might go or not, but what's the market saying?
I mean, he's very weak on the exchanges. I just checked then, and he's nine something to back and 12 to lay. So look, there's not a huge amount of money in there on the exchanges in terms of the liquidity, but it definitely tells a story. We're obviously 7-2, but that's non-run and no bet. Embassy Gardens is 11-2, Free Card Bragg 11-2, Herman's 6-1, Hidden Valley Lake 15-2, and then your 9-1 bar. I just want to talk about a horse at a bigger price here, which is Rock My Way. Won nicely over 2 mile 4 last time. That was at Cheltenham, not doing a tap in front either, just ears pricked all the way up the run here. The boy is really impressive. Beat Pembroke, who's an 8-1 shot for the county, so some decent little bit of form there. It's also got form over 3 miles. I think it won a point over 3 miles, Rock My Way, for Sid Hosey. So I think at a bigger price, at the 20-1, 16-1 mark, I just thought that Rock My Way could be well overpriced here.
Thank you very much, Paul. I'll come to you first of all for the Bartlett. Where's your? Do you have a strong fancy for the Bartlett?
Not really, no. Ash is the short answer there. 3-card Bragg, the horse of Gordon's was a good winner last time out, second in the Grade 2 the time before that, and I wouldn't be surprised to see American Mike bounce back to form if he lines up here. Was a beaten favourite, was disappointing at Navan. I was at Navan that day, same card that the Sweeney horse that's running Touchstone Warrior won it, and the vibes were pretty sweet on American Mike, so at a bit of a price, arguably maybe worth having a small each way wager to bounce back.
Very interesting there. Emma, for the Bartlett, where would you be siding with at this current stage?
Yeah, there's a lot of horses with a chance, I suppose, if you look down through it. But I think if Corbett's Cross shows up, I think he'll take all the beating. Not sure if he'll go or not. I suppose JP bought him there for, I suppose, probably very big money a few weeks ago. So whether he'll want to send him now to get the win at Cheltenham, but I think next year is probably his big year, going chasing. But like, he could be anything. Like, his win over 2 miles the last day was very, very good. I think if he turns up, he'll take all the beating. If he's not there, I'd give a bit of a squeak to Shambally Kid. Each way is on 14-1. And another one, Seabank Bistro, has good festival form. He was 4th in the bumper last year, and he wasn't too far behind Corbett's Cross when they met at Limerick. So I give him a bit of a squeak, about 20-1 around that price. I'm not sure what price he is exactly, but yeah, they're two with a bit of a chance, I think.
Couple of each way darts if Corbett's Cross doesn't go. Lee, Bartlett, what would you be strongly fancying if you do have a strong fancy?
Well, that preview was on the other day. Gordon Elliott was on the phone. He said he might run 5, but Absolute Notions has gone the distance today. He said Farouk Deschambault, he's probably the best of them. That's what he said the other day, and I'd give him a squeak. But I do like 3-card Bragg. I think he's had quite a few runs. You used to have to be battle hardened to win this type of race. It's getting where the classier horse, but I think he's got a good mix because he's had a few runs, and I think he'll stay for fun. And Connections were adamant that they're going to go here rather than the boys' race. So 3-card Bragg for me.
Harry, Bartlett, go ahead.
I'm staying out of this one, Ash. To be fair, I don't have a strong selection, so I think it's best off just to
gamble
watch this race.
responsibly, aren't you, Harry?
Yeah, I think anything could win that. Anything could win it.
Well done, Harry. Pete, for the Bartlett, is there anything that you like?
I agree with Corbett's Cross that if he runs, I think he's going to take a lot of beating. He just looks a freak at the moment, the way he's winning over all sorts of trips. But 3 weeks later, will they risk it? Probably not. It's not a very Emmett Mullins thing to do, especially with the recent purchase already in the bag. The other one I had on my radar, I don't really look at this race till later in the week in case you get the different form lines from the Handicaps, the Supreme, the Ballymore and stuff like that, different horses winning. It boosts the horses later in the week. But the only one I have got is Shambali Kid, as Emma said, who last time beat Monty Star. It was a bit of a tussle, like the four of them going to the line together, but it just stayed on well. And obviously Monty Star's franked the form, beating Hendon Valley late despite getting the weight. Just looked slightly overlooked of the Willie Mullins type. Like, I don't get this Embassy Gardens thing. Like, that could be 20-1 plus, and I still wouldn't back it. I can't even see that placing. Just because it won on the bridle against a field that fell apart. I don't see where that's got better form than the likes of Seabank Bistro and Shambali Kid. So, yeah, but not a strong betting heat for me.
Thank you very much. Johnny, is it a strong betting heat for you or one potentially to leave?
It's closer to the leave than the strong bet anyway, that's for sure. Look, Corbett's Cross is obviously a very good horse. I mean, to go from 2 mile and good ground and more or less good in Naas to 3 mile and heavy ground at Fairyhouse, it's something like Faheen could do as a novice, like winning Limerick in a bog and then go back and win the Ballymore and then go in the Champion Hurdle maybe the following year. So like, you're talking a high class horse. Will he run? I'm guessing that he won't. I don't know that, but I'm guessing that he won't. I really like 3 Bragg. I think he's a brilliant horse, but will he get the ground that he wants here? Possibly not.
There's been a bit of rain. There's been a bit of rain over the last couple of days, to be fair, in Cheltenham. But looking out my window, it's been quite heavy.
It doesn't belong drying up either. We're still a week away from that race at the same time. Do you know what I mean? So a lot can happen in the meantime. I'd be waiting for the day. I might still have something on him now because I think he's a brilliant horse. But I think what Harry said there is probably right. Anything could win it. You could leave in 10 horses in this and not hit the winner. I will have something on 3 Bragg. I probably will, but it won't be a big bet though.
I'd only have a good bet on this if I've had a really good week, but if not, I won't even bother looking, turning around and watching the race. So.
It's a very open race. I think that's the magic of it. I'd be with the Favori de Champdu. I've been on this horse for a little while, just sort of like in the back of my mind thinking I need to pull the trigger on him. And I think he's a very good horse. He beat Let's Be Clear About It the last day. That's gone on one since Frank in the form. I think he's a real battled, hardened horse. I think he ran 3 times in points. I think 4 times in bumper, and then 3 times in the hurdles, or in some combination of that. So he's run a fair amount. I think he's very good, and I'd be willing to chance his stablemate and owner-mate as well. Search for Glory. I was talking to Emma about this after the race at Clonmel. I think the front 3 in that are very good horses. I think this Search for Glory could turn up. I wouldn't be surprised if you see him turn up in a National Hunt Chase next year or something like that. I think he's a chaser in making, the age-old stereotype. I think he was very good at the inside, jumped really well. It stayed on very well as well. So I give Search for Glory as well a little bit of a squeak in the Bartlett. And then we'll go on to the main race then. We'll go on to the main race, the one that everyone wants to back a winner, own a winner, train a winner in the Gold Cup. It's a very open market, apart from Galopin Des Champs, who's top in the market. Flynn, what's it saying over at Star Sports?
So this is actually one of the boosts as well. Can we just mute Johnny for this one, just in case he...
I won't be involved here anyway. You're all right. I won't be on here.
We've pushed him out to 2-1, so that's industry top price 2-1. So that is the favourite here. And then Aputar 6-1, Brave Man's Game 6-1, Noble Yates 7, Statler 8, Shishkin 10, and then your 12-1 bar.
Have you got a fancy for the Gold Cup? Go on.
Do you know what? I don't really have a strong opinion. I think Noble Yates is a fair play if you just want to back it each way, but I was really impressed with the favourite the last day. More the fact that what the horse did after the line. If you go back and watch the replay and actually watch it, how they go round, I think it took him about half the track for Paul Townend to actually pull up Galopin Des Champs. And that was more impressive for me than what he actually did before that. Is how long it actually took him to pull him up. And when you think about transferring that to a Gold Cup test, you just think that up that hill, he's just going to motor. I think as a bookmaker, you have to question his jumping, particularly at Cheltenham last year. So I think if he gets really short, then he's probably one that we'll want to lay. But I think if he jumps to last, then we're in trouble.
Fantastic stuff. I'm going to go for the second show of hands of the whole night. 2-1 there with Star Sports boosted. Don't try all jump at once, but hands up. Will you be taking a price on Galopin des Champs? 1-2. Harry's taking it. Paul's taking it. So I'm going to go to Pete then. Pete, we're in the same boat here in taking on Galopin des Champs. I think there's plenty.
That's why. Yeah, that's why. I'm not. The reason I'm not taking the price is because I'm already too far deep into Galopin des Champs. So my bets went back from like 13 months ago, and I've got bets of Edwardstone winning the whatever the race was a few weeks ago at Warwick. I've got bets on him doing that last year, matching with Galopin des Champs this year. Wow. So no, I'm more than happy. Galopin des Champs is a big. That was only about 25 quid, and that returns over $3,000. So I mean, I've got plenty on rolling on him, and the same with Brave Man's Game. Brave Man's Game, I've got at 22-1, and I can understand a lot of people knock Brave Man's Game, and sometimes it's to do with Nichols and not running them at Cheltenham. But I think he's got the best piece of form this year, that King George run. And he surprised me there. I was happy to say if he wins King George, I thought that was a moral victory. But the fact that he won the King George and he, the way he just bounced back on the bridle because he got nudged. It was an awful ride, and even the jockey would come off and say that. You speak to him, and it looked like he just expected to be a point and shoot. He just wanted to see him clear daylight. But letting Lahon Press jump into you at every fence, if he took him down, you'd be like, why were you there? But they just seemed. Well, he was obviously just so confident, and the way he came back on the bridle when he was nudged along, it gave me optimism that he might stay this trip. And the same with Galopin des Champs. I was slightly worried about his DRF performance in the fact that he was ridden to stay, and he did stay, and obviously was very difficult pulled up. But he lost a lot of his zest, like his jumping over the hurdles. Like normally he's very exuberant, but at the same time, maybe you don't want that over a Gold Cup trip anyway. So I've got little doubts. My only concern for both of them is I'd like to see the ground maybe good to soft. I don't want to be seeing a soft or heavy where you're looking at all the stayers like the Statlers and the Noble Yates coming into it. I think if it's good to soft, those two for me, I'd be strong on both.
Pete, I've just got a question, and this applies to anyone. If you've got a big bet that's lying on, and say you've backed a horse at 25s and the horse goes off a short price, and it's the last leg, and like Galopin des Champs in your case, Pete, is now what? I mean, across the board, bar Flynn, this horse is 13-8, 6-4. Would you be laying a little bit off? Would you just kind of go? In my early years, so like when I first started betting at Cheltenham, then I would, but I soon learned that wasn't the way to go because you just lose so much money giving it back. In the fact that a lot of them say 7 or 8 of them out of 10 win, like you end up, and then it puts your mind. You're thinking every time you come to it, you're like, oh, should I be laying this one off? The only time that I have laid a big one off was when Envoy Allen. When he fell that year in the Turners, and that was because I'd had big liabilities through Shishkin. Shishkin had already won, and it won me my biggest ever bet, which then followed on to the next was on to Monkfish, which was another monster bet, and I'd had a treble and a lot of bets on Envoy Allen, and that was a monumental payout, and I was just like, I can't risk all of it, so I laid some off, and that was because of COVID. I was sat at home, no booze, and I was just drinking. I was on the Coca-Cola, and I was like, right, let's have a think about this. What should we do? However, if I'd been at Cheltenham for the week, there's no guarantee that I would have woke up with the lads and they'd be like, "Come on, who cares?" So, but generally, no. Generally, I don't.
But in that circumstance, you've had the confidence to back the horse, let it ride, and have a save on your next fancy. So instead of laying it off, have a save on something else. But what's the point? What's the point of putting it on these cash outs and stuff? Didn't put the bet on if you don't. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to think that you're
Johnny's smirking in the corner. He's thinking, yes.
Just get stuck into it.
I want Johnny to have his say on the Gold Cup now because he's been sat there very patiently about this. What do you make of the Gold Cup this year, Johnny?
Look, the Gold Cup is usually a tough race. Not always won by the best horse. You know what I mean? So some years the class, whatever you like to call them, sexy horse wins it. Other years it's a slugfest and the likes of Noble Yates, Statler, maybe Conflade will come into it much stronger than the. I mean, if it was around Kempton, you'd be saying Galopin des Champs would be 10-11 and Brave Man's Game be about 7-2 and it'd be any price to race, wouldn't it? Like, but it's not around Kempton. It's a different track, different course, and the slower horses have a chance if they're there fighting. If they can hang in they'll probably toughen him out better than the. I have a feeling the favourite. Now, my own personal opinion, I'm only a pure guess, is that the favourite might have left his Gold Cup behind him in Leopardstown. I think he had a much harder race there than people think, and to me, he didn't. He won, but like if you backed him at 2 to 5, you'd be worried for a vast majority of that race in my book, anyway. And the big dog crashing out was a help to you as well, and I don't know. I don't think he's invincible. I don't think he's a certain stayer, and I think he had a hard race in Leopardstown too. I think he's opposable. I wouldn't say he can't win, or that'd be stupid. But I probably will aim for something, and won't be a big play now. But I'll be against him, and I'll probably have something on Noble Yates. I do think if Noble Yates can hang in there, I do think he'll be finishing probably best of all. And I don't think he got enough of credit for winning the Grand National as a 7-year-old. That was a big effort. Like it's never. I don't think it's ever been done before, was it?
Yeah.
So look, I'll be going with Noble Yates for a small each way bet and probably laying the favourite for not major, nothing major.
I'll be with you on that, Johnny, and the fact that I'm not going to be taking Galopin des Champs in this race. I think there's plenty to oppose him. And the last day, I actually wasn't too impressed by his run the last day. Yes, he was very good after the last, but I thought in the lead up to that, his jumping wasn't amazing. I thought he was losing lengths at his fences. And look, I'm a massive Galopin des Champs fan, but I'm going to have to leave him on this occasion.
I can see you waiting to say it, Ash. Go on.
What?
Mention the price of your selection in this.
Look. I won't. I don't look because it's only value if it wins. But I'm a conflated fan. He's 14-1 now. I think that's a big price now. I'm on the sexy price of 50-1. But look, it's only good if it wins. So like I'm not going to be one of those after timers who's like, oh, you should all listen to me. 50-1 Gold Cup winner. I'm not going to be like one of them. It's a nice price. If anyone
Flint, can we have a price on that, please?
So does that mean we won't hear you say 50-1 at any point?
Flint, please.
I'll boom it. I'll boom it on Twitter, but
yeah, with my 50-1.
Yeah, come on. No,
that's actually what Elliot said at the preview I was at last night. Some guy asked him, did he fancy Conflated, and he said, what's the man, the fella in the Ryanair? What's he called again?
Michael O'Leary.
Yeah, Fury Road, he said, was hopping off your man at the last. He said, and Conflated is a stone better than Fury Road. That's why you wouldn't be back in Fury Road in my eyes in the Ryanair. That's what put me completely off money. I wouldn't even consider him after hearing that anyway. That's why he obviously gives Conflated a chance anyway, the way he was talking.
Yeah, I love the comments. And do you know what was the biggest one for me is when Allaho came out and there was no like sort of prodding from anyone for them to make a comment. They came out and said, look, we're going to the Gold Cup with him. Happy he missed the Irish Gold Cup. Yeah, I'm conflated. Emma, what are you looking like for the Gold Cup? You're a Galopin des Champs fan, if I'm correct in saying.
Yeah, well, I think he's the most likely winner for me. I haven't backed him or anything now. He's a bit short, but I can see him winning it all right. Haven't backed anything in the race. I backed Uwick probably a few months ago, about 40-1, but I thought I might cut up a bit more, to be honest. He probably doesn't have much of a chance of placing now, unless if you underperform maybe, but he'd want a nice bit of nice ground. You could make a case for a lot of them. I think Statler will be a lot closer, definitely, to Galopin des Champs. The test will really suit him, the 3 mile too. And if it gets soft, he's a real stayer, but he's got a bit of class as well. He's not just a big old potter like some people make him out to be, but Melita Indo, I think, as well, is massive at 20-1. His form at Cheltenham kind of speaks for itself. He's first and second in a Gold Cup. He should be thereabouts as well. I think I might back him each way. I don't know will I back Galopin des Champs. I'll probably see how the weeks go, and I suppose it's probably a bit short, but yeah, I think he probably is the most likely winner.
Yeah, it's a very interesting Gold Cup. You can make a case for plenty. And Paul, you were in the Galopin des Champs camp as well, if I'm correct in saying.
Yeah, I thought his runs this season, including last time out, were all right. I think Connections are riding him with the Gold Cup in mind. You don't want him going off in front and letting fly at his fences. He couldn't do that really at Gold Cup pace. If he done that and let fly at the ditch at the top of the hill and met it wrong, he'd be scraping him up for a week, on his past run. So I think Connections are getting him to settle. I think it's working. And yeah, I'm all over Galopin des Champs. I think bar disaster, I think he wins. I think it'll take something special to beat him. Another horse at a price, if you were to have a little each way, is a High Senior. I'd love to see him get involved. He has his quirks, but he's hugely talented. And I think if on a going day, a High Senior could run into a place, but he'll have to do something to get past the favourite.
He looks like a nice horse there. Lee, is it Galopin des Champs for you as well?
I'm the same with Paul. I think Galloping Deschamps is the obvious one, but I think Hoisin yours a massive price. 14s, and I have already backed Noble Yates each way. I see it as a synchronized type of race. If he'll come home well, but it's hard to get past the favourite. But I'm not on it fancy prices, so I'll probably leave him at that. And I'll back
Flynn's give you one.
each way. What was it?
Flynn's give you a nice price there.
It's 2-1 there.
2-1 in the start for Star Sports. I think that's a cracking price. But
just out of curiosity, guys, do you think this horse will go off shorter than 2-1 or bigger than
100%? 100%. You need to take the 2-1 if you can, because I think that's a cracking boost, me.
Johnny, do you think shorter or bigger?
Look, it's very hard to say so far out. It depends on how Mullins is going. If Mullins is carrying all before him, he could be 5-4. If he's having a mediocre week, he could be 5-2.
But he's already won.
It depends on the ground too. If the ground but if the ground is lively here, the better the ground, I'd say the shorter price will be. If it's into a quagmire, it could be 3-1. You know what I mean? You wouldn't know, you know.
It'd be interesting to see what the ground is like for him and see how he can deal with it for sure. Harry, I assume then, without a power of deduction, you're a Galopin Des Champs fan.
Yeah, I love him. Keep it short and sweet. I think he wins. I think the guys have already said it. It will take a very good one to beat him. The one horse I will, as Johnny mentioned, if it is a quagmire, Royal Pagaille could be a massive price in this, and I will say it. Royal Pagaille could actually.
I forgot you keep talking about this horse.
Yeah.
I put it in the back of my mind, just like to put away, just to please forget about. I forgot.
Do you know what? I've waited about 6 weeks for this preview to now mention this horse. If it is an absolute swamp, you can still get 50-1 on a horse that will absolutely relish.
I'm gonna have to cut you off before you say something that's horrendous about Royal Pagaille. Pete, final say on the Gold Cup, and then we'll go on to the final Friday races and naps. Oh, I think you're on mute there, Pete. I think he's the first one of the night. First and only one of the night.
The first fine. The first fine of the night goes to Pete. Well done, Pete. That will be.
I can. I can't. Can you unmute from your side, Pete? I can't unmute you from my side, so it might
he's
be.
Already said he's on Galloping anyway, isn't he?
Can't hear you, Pete, unfortunately. We'll come back to you. We'll get that sorted out, and we'll go on to the other Friday races. Has everyone had their say on the Gold Cup? I just want to check. Everyone's had their say. Yeah, perfect. We'll go on to other races. We'll put these together. The Mayor's Chase, the final handicaps. Us three and Emma have got to be on the Understarters Always podcast in about 10 minutes time for their drop in. So we'll go fire through these for the final race.
Oh, they can wait because Deck will be absolutely battered. You won't be able to walk by the time we get on that. So,
Harry, final race of Friday. Go for it.
Oh, final race. Allegory de Vassou will win the Chase. I put Firm Footings up at 25-1 for the Martin Pipe. I think this horse has got a really nice chance. Whether he actually goes to the Martin Pipe is another thing, but I do think he is well handicapped. Of the others, I think Orcan Risk, he would be my nap of the Friday if he goes. Listen, he should have gone to the Grand Annual, but he hasn't. It looks like he's going to go to the county. His handicap record is superb. So Orcan Risk is 14-1, and he is my charity bet, isn't he, Flynn? He's going to be. I think you might be paying out a nice prize to a charity. So
Orcan Risk.
Yeah, Orcan Risk at 14-1 is my nap.
It's a shame you picked the wrong horse, Harry. Lee, final races on the Friday. What are your fancies?
I think Allegoria Devassi will win the Mares. I think she's just a classy individual. I know things haven't kind of went right. She was a bit of a dodgy jump at the last day there, but I think she'll show her class. Impervious is obviously the main danger, and I really like Gin Coco in the county. I think he's so well in. Pembroke's also got a chance for the Skeltons. Form with Rock my way, what Flynn likes, but I just think Gin Coco is so well in. Second in the Great Wood the last day. I like to move. It's bolted up since. He's got each race squeak in the champion hurdle to fill the places, and they pulled him miles clear in that Great Wood, and he's off a good mark. He's only had 5 runs. So Gin Coco, I think, for the county, and I like Vorsalé for the Hunter's Chase. I've put him up a long time ago at a bit bigger price. He's come right in. he is kind of ground dependent because he does like a bit better ground. But I just think he's best in. They're saying they're going to go Fernslock to a cup race for David Christie, and one against the Mebby's famous Claremont. It'll have a chance because he jumped well the last day. But Vorsley and the Hunters and Gin Coke will be my nap of the day.
Brilliant stuff. Emma, for the rest of the races on the Friday, where would be your strongest fancies going?
Yeah, I think Allegory Devassi wins the Mayor's Chase. I think she's a bit of a machine, so I wouldn't be really opposing her. Martin Pipe, I have no idea. I'd probably wait till the day and see, or just see what riders are declared, I suppose. It's kind of hard to know at the moment. And the county, there's two that I kind of have a bit of a fancy. Phil Dore, look, he's kind of entered in every race nearly, but I think if he showed up here, he'd have a right chance. Around 14-1, I think he's a good each way bet. He was good beating Charger last time and kind of coming into it on a good profile. I think 5-year-olds have a good strike rate in this, so if he was to show up here, I think he should run a big race. And Colonel Mustard as well is another one. I think. Look, he was third in it last year. He ran a nice race in the Moore Battle last time. 14-1. He'll give you a good run for your money anyway, and he won't be too far away, whatever happens. So they're kind of two for the county. Bit of a guessing game, I suppose. But
brilliant stuff. Thank you very much. Pete, is your microphone all good?
I don't know. You tell me.
Yes. It's all good, man. Go for it on your Friday fancies.
Right, so Friday, I think Impervious is tailor-made for a standard Mayor's Chase. I think because she's obviously Group 3 hurdler, and she is very good. Jump stays, and I think she finds it plenty for pressure. But I think the issue is she could be running into a freak in Allegoria Devassi. I think the only issue you've got is how much respect she gives to her fences. But even then, as long as she doesn't hit the deck, I think she'll just have too much for these, and she could be a good £10 at least above this. She could be one of those superstars that doesn't actually stay in Mayor's Chases. She might be in different company next year, a bit like Cole Reevy. And then in the county, I've just got two. One's very obvious, and that's Filey Bay. His price is getting a bit short now, but everyone saw how solid his run was last time out. He's been put up twice for it now, but there's still 11 lengths back to third. If he didn't make the mistake at the second, it would have gone very close, and I'd expect him to go close. And then in the county as well, it's worth noting the fact that between Willie Mullins and Skelton, they took 7 of the 8 last counties. Mullins has took 4, Skelton's took 3 of 8. And Skelton obviously runs Pembroke, and he's going to get in. Well, providing he gets in, he should be in off a featherweight. I think the drop back 4 furlongs back to 2 miles will suit. Providing, again, I'm hoping it's not too much of a bog on Friday, because I think he'll prefer like a good to soft sort of ground, and he's got a strong chance.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, Paul. We'll go over to you then for the Mayor's Chase and anything else on the Friday.
The Mayor's Chase, I quite like. I think Magic Days will give you a good run for your money. She's a horse that likes to go forward. She always tends to run a race. She ran well for a long way in the Arkle last year, but she's always thereabouts. She likes to go forward, and I think if she can save a little bit for the end, she should give you. Well, either way, I think she'll give you a good run for your money. In the county hurdle, to follow my money again, I'm with Colonel Mustard with M on that one. I thought ran well at Kelso the last time. Slight concern will be had a hard race when you factor in the travelling as well, to and from Scotland, and likewise here to and from Cheltenham. It's just the travelling alone is going to take somewhat out of that horse. So I'd be sweeter on his chances had it not been the Kelso. The Hunter Chase, I think the favourite's going to be hard to beat here. David Christie's horse, Bartlett, would it be backing it at round about 2-1? Probably not. No, not in an amateur race. And I think Safarur in the Martin Pike is a horse that I quite like from the Gordon Elliott yard. Yeah,
it's very interesting. Gordon's got quite a lot in the pipe, and it's obviously a race he likes to have plenty in and try and win. I'll go over to Flynn next for the Mayor's Chase and anything else.
Yeah, I quite like Impervious here. I think she's been great this season. I think we'll try and lay the other 6-4 short Allegoria Devassi purely because of the jumping frailties there. Look, she could be an absolute machine, but she's still got to jump around Cheltenham, which is no mean feat. The one that I really like in the handicaps on the Friday is in the county hurdle, and that's Hunter's Yarn. Has a massive shout here, running off 147, so 4 higher than the Irish mark. £2 more than what State Man carried last year for obviously Willie Mullins as well. He's a real strong traveller, Hunter's Yarn, and I just thought that the sharp test, big field would really, really suit. If you watched when it won the listed novice hurdle the last day, just travelled so well up to the second last and was still travelling, swinging off the bit coming to the last as well. And I thought that you could just see Hunter's Yarn coming up the near side rail. Look, there's still a chance that it could go to the Supreme, but I think it will probably end up going here. But hopefully gets a similar run to what State Man did last year. But it's not similar price to what State Man was last year. If it's State Man at this stage, I think I did a preview at a similar time. It was around 6-1, maybe 11-2, whereas Hunter's Yarn still 8-1 non-runner no bet. So I still think the value's there, and I think that the favourites kind of making the rest of the market. So that would be my main selection for the Friday.
Brilliant stuff. And final word then goes to Johnny for the Mayor's Chase and any of the handicaps on the Friday.
The handicaps are tough. The Hunter's Chase favourite short, very hard to beat probably. Getting the ground, want to stay good for him all the same. Of all the other races, if I was to get involved, I think I'll go with Allegory Devassi. I think that's a fair weapon now. And okay, you could give Impervious a chance. Possibly Jeremy's Flame with little chance, but I find it hard to see anything else get involved there. And I think with normal luck, if she can avoid bad luck, I think Allegory Devassi is probably a good thing, to be honest.
Superb stuff. That's all the races we cover. We've made it to the end. We'll go festival naps on one horse, one race. I'll stick with you, Johnny. Your festival best bets. Go ahead. I think I know what it might be, though.
If I had to pick a horse to save my life, I'd go Mighty Potter, I think.
Thank you very much, Paul.
El Fabiolo.
Thank you, Pete.
Mighty Potter.
Lovely stuff. Emma.
Jerry Clone.
Flint.
Lucia.
Lee.
Jerry Cologne.
Harry.
John Mont.
And it's Mighty Potter as well. I forgot to give my sound the races there. I like.
You're not allowed. You're not allowed.
Secret Investment Hunters. Rivier's Self for the Mares. What else was there? Gin Coco Milkwood for the county. And I think the Capo Glory potentially in the pipe, or Imagine as well. That's all we got time for. Now, I've forgotten the admin stuff. So, Lee, you've probably got a better mind on myself. The admin stuff for what we've got to do at the end of the video.
So we've got a competition from Racing Tees. They are providing a big bundle. They've got T-shirts, hoodies, different stuff. Massive bundle from them at Racing Tees 1 on Twitter. You can wear any colours you want. They'll print anything, hoodies, caps, umbrellas, you name it. But they give it a big bundle away, and I'll announce that winner tomorrow for that one. So you just got to retweet, follow them, and we'll get a competition going. Also, Flynn's kindly prevented charity bets are also there. They're up on screen now. So there's plenty of good charities in there, and them are all our charity bets kindly provided by Star Sports. So thanks to Flynn and the team at Star Sports for giving them plenty of money given away, but hopefully we can win some for some good charities there.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Thank you very much, Star Sports. So thank you very much, Star Sports, for being in association with us. Some brilliant price boosts in there and the charity bets as well. We'll wrap this up then. Thank you very much to everyone who's been watching. There's been some steady...
It's been an absolute pleasure, guys.
There's been some really good views in the background that I've been watching. Thank you to Paul, to Johnny, to Emma, to Pete, to Flynn, and to all of us. Thank you very much. Please do enjoy the festival. If you did enjoy, please do like and subscribe. Make sure to comment down below for your nap of the festival, and we'll catch you probably after the festival, hopefully after a successful week. Thank you very much all, and have a good week at the Cheltenham Festival.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers, guys.